Hi, what's up?
Hello, hello. Merry Christmas
Merry Christmas.
to everyone. And to you. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that since my Piers Morgan appearance, like a lot of stuff happened. Like a lot of like journalists approached me and things like that. And specifically in Ukraine, people watched it because United 4 did like a version of it with subtitles. With Ukrainian subtitles, so people saw it. And I'm like, finally, people actually noticed I'm doing something in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which was very funny because nobody knew here like that I'm doing anything except volunteers and soldiers. They know me, but like regular people don't know me. And yeah, that was very fun. So I appreciate it. That's because of you, essentially, or actually because of Paul, of all people. Thanks to
Because of...
simultaneous
Wait, who's Paul?
operation.
Wait, who?
Oh, the Paul that I argued with, Paul something, right? What's his name?
The crazy guy on Piers. Oh, yeah.
No. On your stream. I went
Paul's
to,
ego. Okay, that guy. I know what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that guy. And because of the simultaneous hydro decapitation operation, I got on Piers apparently because they watched that and they invited me after watching that.
Nice.
On your stream. When you play the piano and everything.
Yeah, what a conversation.
So,
yeah.
Thanks to Paul, I guess. I guess I decided to actually come on and talk with him. That's why. But other than that, yeah. So that has been pretty cool. I actually got like insane level of bullshit from Horton Sims. I didn't expect that, but I got like emails for days essentially. Most of them seems to be like Russian. But a lot of them were maybe Americans or maybe Russian pretending to be Americans. Fuck knows at this point. Yeah, but same old stuff. Like I hope Russians rape and kill you. Blah blah blah. It's like that. Yeah, you can see how his audience really cares about Ukrainian people, though.
Yeah, they definitely fall on one side of that conversation. Do you have anything else lined up, or did you get any other like interview opportunities or anything after the show?
Yeah, I did. Like, I have been approached with like a smaller channels, people like that, and a couple of cool dudes. Philip Itner, I think his name is pronounced. He's like a small journalist. He actually is in Kiev, based in, he lives there now. So they invited me, like a lot of like smaller stuff, but 2 Ukrainian programs actually, which was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, that's a temporary thing, obviously. Like people will lose the interest in a bit again. But I had the opportunity to speak about Ukraine a little bit again, so that's good. Because ever since 22, I think I stopped getting like invites and things like that because people are more interested in like Israel-Palestina thing, things like that.
And then trans people, and the border, and then the hurricanes, and then the drones, and then the
Yeah, and all the election stuff and all that. Also, before I go, Nova Poshta is a postal service in Ukraine, which has become kind of famous since the war happened. And I must declare racial superiority of our Poshta or our postal service compared to American one. It's just they delivered your present, okay, in another continent in 6 days.
Well, I'll keep
your package is traveling within Florida for 5 now. So what's up with that?
Listen, it's on its way, okay? It'll be here. It's coming. Holiday delivery stuff is always pretty busy, and there's like a lot of crazy shit going on, so.
But we have war and holiday too, and it works perfectly. What the hell?
Well, listen, it's dark humor, never mind. Yeah. No, listen, it'll get here. I believe in it, okay? It'll be here soon, all right?
Well, if you believe in it, okay, because I do want you to get it finally, okay? But yeah, it was supposed to be on Christmas, and Kyla was like, "It's gonna be on Christmas," and I was like, "Oh, maybe like New Year's then." Because
nothing is ever delivered. Like stuff that would normally take 2 days, if you order it on like the 21st, I think that sometimes that will come on like the 28th or 29th. Like all the shipping stuff just gets backed up like hardcore because everybody's shipping stuff right before Christmas,
People would revolt here if they waited that long. You wait like 1 day from Kiev to Kharkiv, and people get like, miffed about it. Essentially, if you wait more than one day, they'd be like, "Where's my package?"
Well,
Spoiled, white privileged.
True. Listen,
people.
we got a lot of stuff going on here, okay, but got a lot of mail going around, but
okay. I understand though, but yeah. Anyhow, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to think about the poll. I suppose, for my Piers Morgan appearance. And yeah, other than that, the Horton dude ended up being actually worse than I thought, because on the TV show I didn't know that he would be who he was. Essentially, I didn't know that about his book or anything like that. And I just, because every sentence he said was a lie, so in Russian propaganda in English, so I was like, oh, that guy is 100%. The other two might just be clueless. But this guy in particular definitely smells like a Russian asset to me. But I then ended up being totally vindicated, whatever the word is, afterwards, after looking him up. He even has his wife is from Odessa. She moved to America, and she tried to be a poet there, I suppose. But it kind of didn't work, and she started making like investigation videos, like Greenwald style, about how bad, like Julian something guy, about like how bad America is, and things like that.
For basically
CIA everywhere.
for basically like anything that exists in the United States right now, like any conspiracy theory, you just have to remember like 3 points, and like every single person is going to have those exact same 3 conspiracies, basically, or those 3 same talking points. So like for Ukraine, Russia, if you want to be on their side, you just have to remember that 2014 was a FBI-backed coup or that CIA-backed coup because of the Newland call. You have to remember that there was always a legitimate civil war, and half the country always wanted to join Russia anyway. And you just have to remember that in 91, the United States promised the Soviet Union that NATO would never expand. And as long as you have those 3 talking points down, like that's all you need. You can be Tulsi Gabbard. That's all she knows about it, unironically. And that's going to be our director of national intelligence. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she did appear on like Russia Today and shit like that. And they also call, which I find to be very awkward, but Russians call Tulsi Gabbard Russia's girlfriend.
Sure.
Like it's a bit cringe, but that's how they say it. So I'm repeating it. And there's a lot of stuff about her that makes me think she's not really dumb at all. She's just like on a payroll of some sort. So especially with the Assad thing, I didn't know about Assad thing, to be honest. That she's like made So that's the Assad test literally never fails. So yeah, and also I have been double disgusted. No, wait, triple, fourth. How to say the next one, I don't know, like 5th, disgusting levels of disgusted by the pro-Palestine activism online, because all of them have been screaming about how Islamophobic and disgusting and racist it is to call Hamas and people like that terrorists, and to call multiple resistance, quote-unquote, movements in Palestine racist. It's racist and Islamophobic to call them terrorists. But all of those people called all Syrian resistance groups fucking ISIS.
Yeah.
Immediately. So I am disgusted, and that's fucking. I expected that of them, but they hate us and they treat us horrendously, and that's fine. We are white and ruined Soviet Union, I suppose. So we are forever cursed. But those are also brown people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's very like, if like a group today were to rise up in Yemen, totally organic, and were to fight and overthrow the Houthis, then everybody in like all the wokies in the West would be saying like, oh, the CIA probably helped them. Or when Assad gets toppled, it would be a horrible thing. If Saddam Hussein would have been toppled without U.S. intervention, it would have been a horrible thing. But if somebody rises up, or Hamas or people in Israel were to rise up and overthrow Netanyahu, like everybody would cheer. It would be the best thing in the world. So it is what it is. It's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I mostly just was like the terrorist thing, like one thing to say, like the lefty thing about like, oh, they're like supported by the West or some shit. Many call them Israel dogs, which is doubly weird, but never mind that. But they call them terrorists.
Yeah.
They talk about how they're like Al Qaeda, ISIS, all of that. And I thought that was bad.
Yeah, well,
I thought that was
the thing
Islamophobic.
that complicates it also, yeah, I mean, that is true, yeah. It complicates it, though, in that, like, Al-Qaeda is involved in some parts of it. But when it comes to the Middle East, like, it's very hard to cleanly map on, like, any large group. Like, if you look at the Syrian civil war over the past decade, there are tons of groups that have been involved in fighting, sometimes on different sides of the conflict.
Yes.
So it's hard, but people want to be able to say, like, good guy or bad guy. So it's really, yeah, it's just stupid. Yeah, it's simplistic.
Yeah, but it's it just reminds me of I just thought they gave us this treatment because of obvious reasons, because of the Russian propaganda and things like that. That we had, like, for example, like Azov, like right sector groups, right? And because of that, all of us are Nazis for some reason, because, there were like a couple of people who were far right. But and you can say the same thing about Syrian resistance movements. There are groups that are very radical Islamist, quite, intense people there, but there are also a lot of other groups that are now just united with those groups against Assad, because Assad was the bigger problem, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So but it just to me, the Syrian thing is just more offensive because I, first of all, like, know quite a bit of Syrians in Ukraine, and also I'm like more knowledgeable about that history than I am about many other things, because of all of us are technically against Russia, fighting against Russia. So because of that, obviously, I'm more biased in a sense that I support them more and I, relate to them more. But it's same for them. They relate more to us and they, treated our movements better as well. So obviously there's that. But also, I think it's just such a legitimate thing. Like, it's the most legitimate thing when you talk about, like, resistance to talking about Assad. Like how, yeah, it's just very, and I saw so many, like, friends online getting called terrorists and terrorist supporters, like Syrians who have been, like, fighting against Assad for 10 years. It's just pretty disgusting.
Pretty dumb. Yeah.
Can we call leftists racist now after this, or no?
Everybody's racist depending on what the issue is. So, yeah.
Yeah, but that's cool and fine. That's just how the world is. But they think they're not. That's the problem. Yeah.
Nobody believes.
Well, anyhow, all of that. All of that is just has been annoying for the past few days. I did drink a lot though with my Syrian friends, which was celebrating the thing. And also, everyone denies that millions of people go outside in Syria and celebrate. You can literally see, like, cities, all of the people in the city going outside celebrating, and people like, oh no, it was like, it's like Maidan, like they pretend like 3 people participated and because of Nuland's cookies, I suppose, or Obama cookies. Meanwhile, it's like millions of people.
Yeah, something that was really funny is we saw, like, videos of Tim Pool. He actually was at Euromaidan. I didn't realize this. And when he was covering it at the time, he was talking about how, people were protesting against the corrupt government, and they were upset because of the rejection of the European Union deal. He was there, and he covered all those. It's so funny to see how much he's changed.
Pool? Like
that guy, Beanie Boy.
The beanie? No way. I need to find that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, pretty insane.
So he does know what's happening.
Yeah, he does know,
100%.
Yeah.
What a little fuckwit. Dude, I can find that online somewhere, yeah? Damn, I didn't know that. He was actually, like, in that time, like, doing, like, journalist sort of thing?
Yep. I think it was a Reddit account. Here.
Fuck, that's so shameless.
It's pretty insane to see the difference in,
I'll look it up. Thanks. I'm interested. It's just because
like it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I would have, if somebody would have told me this, I would have never imagined he would ever have typed this 11 years ago. So the top question was, do you think the protests will escalate? If so, what would be the consequences internationally? And his response was, it's a coin toss. Like most uprisings, more people come after police get violent. If they try to evict by force or attack protesters, more people will come. Also, if the rumors are true that Yanukovych will sign or has signed a deal with Russia to join the customs union, people will be angry. So it's crazy that at the time he knew all the conditions were there. You didn't need like a CIA op or whatever. Like people were legitimately fucking upset about this, and he knew all of this at the time. Yeah, so it's really stupid. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
so
actually
just lies. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just a nasty fucking liar on the payroll, just how I thought he was.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, why are those people like making money on the destruction of my nation? It's unpleasant, to say the least.
Pretty gross.
Fuck it.
Oh, this is why I thought of this, because you
somehow.
mentioned the Syrian thing. Somebody said, does it seem as if the general population is in support of the protesting, or is more of a group of people going rogue to the disgust of the populace? The media coverage is rather sparse in the U.S. of what's actually happening. And his response was, to me, yes, there were 400 to 500,000 people here in Kyiv on Sunday. It definitely seems to be a popular movement. Yeah, it's so crazy to see the difference in opinion.
Fuck him, dude! I cannot believe this shit, and nobody brings it up. Like his fans, I haven't even seen this. Damn! It's just absolutely like I'm so tired. I'm not gonna give them any of them benefit of the doubt anymore. Like maybe I will fire some shots and misfire. Like a. Say a person is like as a Russian paid dude and I misfire, but fuck that, I'm going to do it from now on because I gave all of them the benefit of the fucking doubt. Even the Lex Friedman thing that people like criticized me on, even Reddit on DGG when I posted it back in the day, and now it turns out he's a Putin sim and used to be, and he was talking about how glorious and great that guy is and how everyone in his Russian family loves him, but then his family became Ukrainian family. When it was convenient in a conversation. It's just...
I don't believe anybody's backgrounds or anything anymore. Everybody lies about all this shit. It's crazy, the content creators.
Yes, I'm not buying that shit anymore. People try to shame me into thinking they're just dumb. They just don't understand. No, they're dumb. They know exactly what they're doing. People with millions of subscribers and huge successful channels are not dumb.
This comment was
unless they want to be.
This comment was, the far-right Ukrainian Nationalist Party, Svoboda, has been orchestrating fascist riots amidst the demonstrations, defacing public and private property, beating up ethnic minorities, etc., etc. Do they have a strong presence amidst the uprisings, or are they just a fringe group of crazy? What are the chances that these fascists might seize power or gain popular support? Tim's response was, from what I understand, it's not likely that Svoboda wins, but there are many different nationalist organizations that are influencing the protests, particularly the Information Center and Security. I'm told there are some far-right protesters starting fights as well, but it's important to know that no one thinks they are fascist, though. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Yeah, reading through this AMA was...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much it's changed.
Correct. Yes, yeah, this just proves everything I already thought. It's people are oh, they just don't understand things. That's the quote. I am not sure exactly in English, but it's something it's complicated, difficult to get a man to understand things when his salary depends on not understing those things.
Yeah,
something
I know what you're talking
that.
about. Yes,
And, yeah. I just don't know it in English. I know it, in Russian, but whatever. It's just that it's those guys. They're not understanding it on purpose because their salaries depend on it. Yeah, it's just very frustrating to deal with. You people are drowning in lies, and that's familiar to see.
It's gross to me too, because being a streamer, one of the things that comes up a lot in streaming we're used to was the idea of taking unethical sponsorships, and I'm sympathetic to people that have to take unethical sponsorships who are barely making it, but I think it's especially gross when you have people that are multi-millionaires. It's when Hassan says there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, I have no choice, and it's bro, that's for people that are earning 30,000 USD a year, barely scraping by. That's not what you say to millionaires. So the idea, it's not Tim Pool was barely making it and he couldn't survive and now he has to sell out to just barely make ends meet. It was he collected $5 million last year because he was doing Russian propaganda. It's so crazy to me.
Yeah, they're just greedy. They're just money hungry fuckers that lie. Yeah, it's just so, and I'm just I don't know what to do. People ask sometimes what do you do with that? I understand you have different obviously rules of free speech and things like that in the United States, but it's just that how there has to be something done. If I might be a barbarian Ukrainian who doesn't understand the glorious free speech thing, but to me lies is not free speech.
Yeah, the problem is most of the people that are talking about free speech, and every time I bring this up, people always clip me and say I'm a fascist or whatever. But people don't care about freedom of speech in the United States. They just want cover to lie about everything, and that's all they use it for. Anytime somebody's obsessing over freedom of speech, usually they're just somebody that wants to lie a ton and not get in trouble for it. It's really cringe.
Yeah, and just how it's called, how that fucker is called, Rubin. Yeah, Rubin. That guy, he's free speech to free speech that, and he was getting money. You were lying for a foreign government. That's not free speech, brother.
Yeah,
But
cringe.
yeah, it's just without disclosing it.
Very
Yeah,
cringe.
it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you do though? How do you battle that shit?
I don't know. You fight the good fight, one YouTube video at a time. I don't know. Yeah, it's
So
My
you're
mother's
the crusader
response, let's
again,
watch.
nobody else.
Jesus.
I just, yeah, win the war, dude. Somehow, I don't know how. It's just the media is like rotten. I didn't expect that. It really reminds me of I don't want to be killed. Oh,
No, sorry, you're good.
what?
I've my audio is routed weird. Yeah,
Oh,
that,
I just, yeah.
no, there's a thing coming through mine. Yeah, no, that's the thing that I'm like focused on for a while is just making people understand that the media environment is like really, really fucked. And that like that's what has to change more than like how do we message or how do we do this or whatever. And people need to understand that right now the media environment is like very, very not good for facilitating good conversations or even accurate or truthful conversations. Yeah.
A friend of mine, Devin, he thrown me a video of a guy. I don't remember unfortunately the name, but it was like a video about how you should ignore people in like the troll essentially, like in the back of the there's Andrew Tate there, and he talks about how giving him clout and everything made him big, and we should just. Yeah, I think you watched that video on stream, I believe as well.
Yeah.
But point is that I just watched that video and it was interesting watch. But I then asked my friend, like, I understand like what he's talking about, and on an individual level, that might be a good advice. Not to get angry at like random bots and Twitter people, and not waste like hours writing like a poem in response to like a bot who doesn't care, like who deliberately wrote that message to rile you up and things like that. I started ignoring that about Ukraine. I just block those people and go on if these are even people, right? But at the bigger picture, though, people don't know it's trolling.
Yeah, the issue is that like that advice was really good like 15, 20 years ago when like trolls on the internet were literally just like trolling and intentionally trying to make people mad. But now these people are like your main media stars and they're influencing policy and voters in the US and you can't really ignore them. Yeah.
Yes, and how can you ignore them even when first of all, they lie about incredibly important things. Things about like people's health, for example, like vaccine stuff, right? They lie about the political stuff. They lie about wars in other countries and the reasons why they're happening, right? It affects aid, it affects geopolitics, it affects like everything now. It's not about just trans bathrooms at this point, right? And it's just not to say that's not a very important issue, of course, but point is that I just made that. He was like, that's such a good video. I would like follow that, and I was like, yeah, but how do you like people who watch those people? They don't understand that's rage bait. They think it's truth and based. They think it's actually the truth, and the big media lies to them, and that's where the hidden gems of truth are.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? Like you can't just ignore those people. They will not stop consuming that content. They will still do it and still be more radical and more stupid and insane.
Yep, true.
Anyhow, yeah, I'm just over this shit. Like I don't remember exactly who the quote is, but there was like this thing about Soviet Union people were contemplating that it's probably not that's questionable, but they say it's probably not the bloodiest of like totalitarian regimes, but it was most filled with falsehoods compared to anyone else, right?
Sure.
So and that's like kind of how it survived longer than any other as well. But it also didn't lose the war, essentially. That's important, obviously, because losing in World War II crushed those regimes, obviously, right? But also it has been about there's a lot of sophisticated like falsehoods baked into the foundation of like Russia as an empire and Soviet Union as its like second phase, essentially, right? And it really thrived exclusively on that. Just on lies and making everything doesn't make sense. Nothing is true. Everyone is nihilistic. Everyone is like, conspiracy minded. That's just, yeah. So I'm just quite not to be dramatic, but I'm kind of seeing that trend in the United States.
The narrativization of everything is super important. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You're the crusader, I suppose.
Okay, well, have fun, be careful. Gonna watch more of my good Beanie Boy, Tim Pool, and yeah.
Oh no, you're watching that guy. I hate him now, like triply so, thanks to your...
He's pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah.
Have fun. Be careful. Bye. What is this?
Doug, they need to cut this open, bro.
I think he's here to help.
I always wanted to ride one of these when I was a kid.
Trying to be a kid again.
I put in my legs, bro, and I fell down. And like my legs are swelling right now. Like I can't get out. Bro, stop laughing.
It's hilarious.
It's not funny, bro. My legs are swelling.
The fire department's probably gonna laugh too.
How long you been in there?
Like 20 minutes.
More like it's more
10
like
minutes. I don't want to be handicapped after this.
No, I don't think you will be.
Ow, ow, you.
Manhandle.
It's going to have to hurt just a little bit to
Ow,
get you
my
out of
thighs,
there.
bro.
Because either way, you got to come out. Because either way.
Why was this linked to me? Okay, I don't know why I click this.
I hope so, and that's what I'm beginning to believe, and that's why I'm now a heretic on the left. How could you possibly think that is the MAGA base going to go, no, we were anti-war?
He'd lose I think there'd be like 30% who'd be like, we trust you, Trump. Everybody else is going to be losing their minds.
I hope so, and that's what I'm beginning to believe, and that's why I'm now a heretic on the left. How could you possibly think that the right-wing populists are not evil?
Well, I mean,
and I'm saying I don't think they're evil. I think that we might massively disagree on some issues, as you're seeing here, right? But I think that these guys actually mean anti-war and they mean anti-corruption. Yeah, I think Trump is corrupt, but the Democratic Party is corrupt, the Republican Party is corrupt. So
how can they mean anti-corruption if they voted for a corrupt guy that you just said is corrupt?
Look, let's let him do some things and then let's react, right?
So what is you said you're on COVID, you're on the left. Like, how would you describe that?
So look,
oh God, are Cenk and him gonna? Tim's not gonna talk at all. Here's my prediction for this. Tim is not gonna talk at all about how he doesn't believe that the vaccine even works. He's not gonna bring that up at all. Tim's position is gonna be that people should just have the freedom to choose and mandates were a mistake. And then Cenk is gonna be like, yeah, I think that censoring misinformation was bad. And then they're both gonna like break bread on that common ground where they're like, yeah, the censorship was bad and maybe no mandates. And that's gonna be the conversation. Let's see.
Did I take everything they said as fact? And
something bad about Fauci, always.
No, from God himself? No, right? For example, they're like, no, it didn't come from the Wuhan lab. This virus broke out right.
Oh, and then also all the conspiracies ended up being right about the lab leak or something like that. I don't know. I'm not making too many predictions on.
Next to one of the biggest virus labs in the world, but we think it was from an armadillo or whatever they thought it was, right? And I was like, maybe, right? But no, it was
pangolin?
a
It was a pangolin.
No, it was a
pangolin.
No,
for a minute, yeah. For a second, they were talking about pangolins. And
I just want to say this line of reasoning is so stupid. Like, crazy that COVID came from the lab that was right there studying COVID. Like, yeah, crazy that chemotherapy drugs find themselves around so many people with cancer. Isn't that like really strange? How does that happen? Like, crazy that so many doctors who, do sutures or whatever are also near patients that are bleeding to death. Like, isn't that great? Yeah, the lab was built there for a reason. No shit. It's because this region is I think the originator of a lot of like COVID what's the word I'm looking for? Wait, was COVID considered a rhinovirus or no? Or is it just called coronavirus? There's no more generalization of it. But like this region is known for producing a lot of like these types of things. Like pathogens? Is a virus a pathogen? Wait, it's a pathogen. Which is why this lab is here. But
And they were also talking about bats that were like 100 miles away.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I was like, look, guys, that seems less likely. It seems more likely that it came from the virus lab. On the other hand, probably the core disagreement we'll have is, so everything's
attacked for that?
What's that?
Did you get attacked for saying that?
No, not really, because that one was like so like it wasn't a big enough issue, and it was so silly.
When
like,
did you say that? Then?
Well, let's
oh yeah, I said it right when they said.
yeah, let's focus on. Remember, always focus on areas of disagreement. Minimize or delete areas of disagreement.
Like throughout, I was
It
like,
made perfect
Right.
sense.
So what is the main point of difference we have?
so it's a society, especially in democracy with civil rights, etc., is a balancing act between the individual and the community. Sometimes the community wants something, but that hurts the individual rights, and sometimes you protect individual rights, but that hurts the community, right? So how do you balance those? And a virus is a great example of how difficult it is to balance those. So, for example, if you had a virus, unlike COVID, that if upon contact, like you catch it in the air at all, you're dead, right? You're
Oh, maybe Cenk is going to make me proud here. Okay.
instantly dead. Well, could we then say, no, everybody's got to stay home?
Like an Ebola type of thing? Like
Like an Ebola, but
were
even
more
worse,
airborne?
right?
Yeah.
Just to make it an extreme hypothetical, right? So I say, no, then we support the community and we say, yeah, you got to stay home. And yes, I am taking away your individual rights in that particular case. Now, then you have a range of viruses. Like, so for smallpox was devastating, not only America, but the U.S. troops during the Revolutionary War. And Washington said, we're going to give you guys all this thing that's basically a vaccine, right? But we know it's going to kill a lot of you because back then the vaccines were horrible. And it killed a third of his army, but it saved the rest of the army and it saved the war. And that's why.
Am I crazy? Did they have vaccines back then? I thought they were like rubbing smallpox fucking blankets on each other to do some inoculation shit. Did that process kill a third of his troops? I don't remember hearing that. Maybe it was. I just didn't follow this, or I didn't follow this. I wasn't alive back then. I didn't read about this.
That's why America exists now. You can go back and say, I can't believe he took away their individual freedom. I can't believe, not only did he kick him out, he didn't kick them out of the army, but he killed them in a sense, right? But overall, it was the right decision. So that's why it's not easy. And so in the case of COVID, in the beginning, it seemed so viral that, yeah, I agree with you. You should wear masks outside and you want to contain the number of people in a house. Yeah. Now, at some point, it got absurd, right?
Yeah.
And when it got absurd, I said, all right, guys, we're done with this. What are we doing? The kids got to go back to school, et cetera. Now, looking back at it in hindsight, there are probably a couple of things I would have done differently. But you see what I'm saying? By being on the left means, in that case, I wanted to protect the community.
What is the Nightbot deleted this? Damn, why? What is the consensus theory right now on the origin? Wasn't there news recently validating the lab leak theory? No. Lab leak theory has only gotten weaker since it first was, like, posited. There's nothing new has ever come out in support of lab leak theory. I'm pretty sure the scientific consensus is still around origination from the markets.
More.
Well, we don't disagree with that. I don't think that's a left-right thing. Trump was the one who came out and said 2 weeks to slow the spread and initiated the push for lockdowns in the first place. I think the issue was when BLM was protesting and rioting during COVID, the media and prominent personalities were like, this actually slowed the spread. I think.
Well, and you also had a whole bunch of doctors come out and sign a letter saying that racism was a bigger health threat than COVID.
Yeah. And then
you also had Andrew Cuomo say.
Hi, Destiny. I'm Ukrainian, and I've lived here for years during the current war. I'm curious about both you and her take on freezing the conflict and making peace. My concern is that the current situation with mobilization is unbelievably inhumane. I mean, losing parts of your country is also inhumane as well. I mean, it's rough, but it's war that, Russia started. Yeah.
Saying, if you're going out to protest for BLM, then that's okay, but otherwise you need to stay home. And then you had 10,000 people out front of the Brooklyn Museum, protesting for Black trans lives, and the rest of us were supposed to stay home because we weren't doing that.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.
Wow. Quick quiz. How long is a fortnight without looking it up? My friend says it's common knowledge, but I disagree, saying it's an old word. I don't think Dan would know. I only know this because didn't Abraham Lincoln use it in a speech? A fortnight is just 2 weeks, right? But it's not common at all. I feel like the only reason we know that is because, was it a Lincoln? Was it the proclamation? I don't even know what the fuck these are. I don't know why this is even in my brain. Didn't Lincoln use like oh no, he said 4 score. Wait, why do I know what a fortnight is? Wait, what is a score? Is score 12? 4 score, 7 years. I don't know what that's a reference to. What is this? It's a video game. A score is 20. Oh. Why do we know what a fortnight is? We use fortnight all the time in the UK. We never ever use that word in the United States. This is never ever a fortnights are used for payment. I've never heard that in my life. I've always heard bi-monthly. Bi-monthly can mean either twice a month or every 2 months. Yes, that's the next meme debate, yeah. And then people say every 2 weeks. I unironically learned what it meant because of Fortnite. Based, okay.
Every time. There is no Ruben-esque, oh, sir, you are right, sir. Gay people are the problem, sir. There's none of that. None of that. But if you're asking me to pick a fight every single time, vociferously every single time, that is an unrealistic and
no one is asking that. No one is. I'm surprised that Cenk hasn't talked to me about this. Maybe because I would challenge him much. Because I feel like he's literally doing the Destiny blueprint. Like, this is what I was known for and caught so much heat for. So it's, I guess maybe I'm being a bit presumptuous that he would want to chat about this. But this is like.
And ridiculous.
I agree that it's unrealistic to pick a fight, but again, I never made that claim. That's another straw man. What I'm more asking about, I guess what I'm saying is, if you go there and you say, hey, look, here's the stuff we agree on. Let's move this stuff forward. Yeah, you didn't say, hey, you're awful on gay people, but what you did say is, hey, we agree on trans people. So
no, we don't agree on trans people because I said, don't we? Like, do you guys agree with constitutional rights for trans people? Every time I've done that on a right-wing show, all the hosts said yes. In this case, 2/3 of the audience said yes. About a third didn't, but just my read of it. And then Charlie said that no, he doesn't think housing is a constitutional right. So I said I disagree with that.
So you agree with trans people having housing? Fine. That wasn't really what I meant. But I don't want to get distracted by that. My bigger point is pointing to the right and saying, hey, here's where we agree. The right doesn't seem to have a problem getting the stuff they want accomplished. They don't seem to have a problem advancing policies. So to me, to go in that space and I think right-wing voters.
Sorry to spam, but this will drive me insane. Washington's inoculation did not kill 1/3 of the inoculated. LOL. That would have been insane. Yeah, that's. I feel like I would have heard that. Cenk is confusing the general stat that 1/3 of smallpox infections resulted in death with the claim that inoculation itself had the same death rate. The part of the Army that keeps track of Army medical history estimates that fewer than 1% of the Continental Army soldiers died from being inoculated. There you go. Also, somebody typed this in chat. I feel like this is like jiggering. Is that a word? Old memories. That like they discovered that you could get cowpox or something or some other kind of pox like disease, and that would give you some type of immunity from smallpox, and that's what they infected people with. I don't remember if that was true or not. Yes, cowpox. Yes, that's how Jenner discovered vaccination. He figured out that the milkmaids didn't get smallpox. Like Kylie Jenner? Pop culture reference.
Are just as screwed as us. What did Trump deliver for them in the first term? Nothing. He just gave corporate tax cuts. So, like, they're not getting what they want either. And I'm super curious how they're going to react if Trump screws them again this time. Is it the old MAGA and I'm totally wrong and they all bow their heads? If he invades Panama, all of a sudden they love war, then I'm wrong. And then
do you think that
I'll be happy to say I'm wrong. But if it turns out that he continues to screw them and they rebel a little bit, well, that'll be an interesting phenomenon, right? But I don't know what's going to happen yet. We made up the percentages in the beginning. We'll see what the reaction.
I think it clicked maybe. When MAGA says that they're anti-war, what they're actually saying is they just don't want to be involved in wars that they feel like aren't advancing American interests, and they don't feel like wars overseas are advancing American interests. I think that's why MAGA would support any war domestically or any war nearby us where they can see a direct, like a direct benefit. I think that's what the thing is. Yeah. Okay.
Reality is when the rubber hits the road, but it hasn't yet.
Have you received any money for this?
None.
No one's paid you to appear?
None. Zero. None.
You appeared at this conference completely for free?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been offered any kind of positions, any kind of consultancies, any kind anything from right-wing organizations?
I feel like this is a boring question. People always, and the same thing when people make accusations of me. People will say like, "Oh, are we being paid for this?" Like, nobody can probably pay people this. Actually, I was so wrong on this. I was going to say nobody can probably pay people to have these types of opinions because these guys are making a lot of money anyway. But then I didn't realize that Russia was willing to drop $10 million or more in a year to pay off people for propaganda. But realistically, most of the benefit usually comes from just scooping up a new audience, right?
None. Zero.
Okay. I'm not asking because I think you have. I actually don't think you have. I just want to put that. I want that on the record so that there's no confusion. Yep. What do you say to the person who says, and I'm not doing the hypothetical journalist thing. People in the comments have said it. I just don't know, specifically their names, but you can scroll through and see. Yeah, you're not getting money from this directly, but you know what side of the bread is buttered. You know that taking the positions you're taking will have you on talk shows. Your views will go up on the channel. You'll get a wider audience. If the right wingers who love to click on stuff and love to watch media, that this is still a strategic career move. What do you say to that?
Totally and utterly absurd. So number one,
you should never deny this as a political person. We are put. You should just acknowledge the awkward kind of like. You should just acknowledge the awkward kind of conflict of interest here. It is true that like technically, if I'm a political person, which I am, and I want people to believe in my political ideas, which I do, I'm also doing things that maximizes my popularity, and then as a byproduct of that, my income at the same time, right? Because what good is a political ideology if nobody believes in it or nobody follows it or you have no reach? So it is true that you are going to simultaneously do things that advance your career and advance your ideology at the same time. As long as you're not advancing career at the expense of your ideology, that's preferable. That's what you should be doing. Now, that's the question, though. Is like, do you think that you're compromising too much on your values to advance your career or your reach? Yeah.
if you want to be real, of the two things, the theories that I talked about earlier about us, we're right-wing grifters and getting money for it. Oh, your audience is dying off, etc. We can't be both, right? Well, the reality is this has cost us a good number of paid subscribers. We're not unaware of that, and it has cost us in terms of the live show, etc. The number is there.
I don't see Cenk and Anna picking up a meaningful amount of right-wingers. They have such a big stain on their faces by virtue of being the literal face of TYT. Most right-wingers jerk off to the 2016 meltdown videos and love seeing them see. Yeah, the problem is that, like, I feel like I could grift to the right wing pretty effectively because I am like a pretty hard data guy, and I have taken some positions that have actually costed me quite a bit. Cost? So whether that's being like a little bit pro-Israel, or whether that's being pro-Rittenhouse, or whether that's been kind of like anti on the trans craziness or whatever. Like, I think I could grift right wing pretty successfully, and I could probably like do it. I could make it. But like, for all the unhinged, crazy things that people on the left have said about people on the right, the Young Turks kind of led that. Like, I feel like the Young Turks is who you think of when you think of unhinged, crazy wokies that are constantly calling the other side racist, Nazis, fascists, or whatever. Like, I feel like that's who you're thinking of. So I feel like it's harder to imagine them making a successful transition to right-wing content or to scoop up right-wing fan bases, but I don't know. Although the fireman thing probably hurts me in the lives of a lot of right-wingers. I'm glad it does. Be upset about it.
We're not unaware of that. We're actually doing something really bold and courageous, which is that we're willing to risk our not only money, but the loyalty of our audience to do what we perceive to be the right thing. And Mark, it's the same exact thing I did when I challenged Obama from the left. Tons of paid subscribers left, audience left. No, Obama's a saint. You can't do that. And that was early on in his administration after we helped him so much to get elected against McCain. We do not do audience capture, and we challenge our own audience, open minds, open hearts. So the challenge, this idea of grifting, I know where it comes from. Again, I'm not saying, oh my God, nobody's ever going to do that or nobody's ever done that. No, people have done that. I get it. I get it every day. Yeah, but in order to make that charge, and if somebody in the audience is concerned, that's totally fine, right? But when other left-wing hosts say they already have done that, that's just a lie. And so that is deeply...
Wait, what?
To make that charge. And if somebody done that, no, people have done that. I get it. I get
it
every
day.
Yeah, but in order to make that charge, and if somebody in the audience is concerned, that's totally fine, right? But when other left-wing hosts say they already have done that, that's just a lie. And so that is deeply problematic that we have a bunch of hosts out there saying things that aren't even close to true. They never checked. They never asked. At least you asked, Mark, and that's and I appreciate
about
you
taking
asking.
money or whatever.
So people have to be concerned about where they're getting their news, and unfortunately, some folks on our side also have bad intent.
I think that's that's important for you to state. Charlie Kirk is somebody obviously you're okay sharing stage with. We contrasted him to Nick Fuentes. Would you share a stage with Nick Fuentes?
No, in fact, I was on the Spaces on X, and he joined, and I left. And so, yeah, there's a line, right? And I
what's the line?
I often grapple with that line myself, right?
What is the line for you, right? And I know it's provisional. We all fluctuate. But what is the line in general for you?
Yeah, line is when your main thesis is white supremacy, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, etc. Like that's what Nick's known for. That's what he does, right?
Right. He's a Nazi. He's like a literal.
I mean, I think he says he's a neo-Nazi, and I'll take him at his word, right? So, or he defends Nazis, right? That's good enough. No, I have no interest, right?
So I guess that's where I get confused. I saw this from 1023 where you called Trump a Nazi. But you share a stage with Trump and share a stage at an event that supports the movement.
Ooh, in October of 2023. That's not like a 7-year-old tweet. That's like a 12, 14 month ago video. Oof.
Of a Nazi. And what's the difference?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a title or if I actually said that, but it's in quotes. So maybe I did.
I had the video. I could play it.
Oh no! Don't play it! Do we really need to play it?
All right, so let's wrap it up with some policy questions.
Why is this video so fucking quiet? Fuck you.
So I know back in the day you were a supporter of the public option for healthcare, but then you backed Bernie twice. You were a big advocate of Medicare for all. But when I went to cenkforamerica.com, one of the policies listed is public option. So are you running on the
America? They don't use direct Nazi quotes that Trump does. The only fascist that is an actual threat to democracy is Donald J. Trump. He already tried to end this democracy once. And guys, last thing. The other day, he said, immigrants are poisoning the blood of our nation. That quote has only been used by Adolf Hitler and Donald J. Trump. So he's telling you ahead of time. I'm a Nazi. It's not like I didn't warn you. I used absurd Hitler quotes. I pulled them out of history, and I said them for no reason, just to let you know I am a Nazi. He then, remember, he had dinner with Nazis. Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, they had dinner talking about how the Holocaust wasn't so bad and Hitler was a hero. Those are things Fuentes has said. Those are things Kanye West has said. He happily had dinner with those Nazis. And when the Nazis marched and said the Jews will not replace us, he said there are good people on the Nazi side. How many times does he have to tell you that he's a Nazi before you believe him? Please run a great candidate against that guy. Don't run a terrible, wounded candidate thinking, I hope it'll be all right. So does Donald Trump have bad sides? He has the worst signs I have ever seen of anyone in political life in my lifetime in America. And to run a weak candidate against him is a crime. It's a crime against this country.
God.
Yeah, okay, no, if you say it, I know that some people are sending around videos, I believe it. So what I tried to do was, I tried not to call him a Nazi or Hitler, but I did say...
Did you think he was a Nazi, or were you being hyperbolic?
No, I must have been hyperbolic then, because I never...
You never thought Trump was a Nazi?
No.
That was like a whole ass... Now I'm glad we listened to it. Wait, that wasn't just like he's kind of a Nazi or whatever. That was a whole ass, he's using quotes. Here's a quote. He's telling you exactly what he is. Don't be surprised when he is a Nazi. Holy shit. My face when is this?
I'm confused because this conversation you were talking about how we shouldn't flamethrow and call people names and call everybody who's a racist or racist. You don't even want us to call actual white supremacists. Why would you call him a Nazi?
No, I'm saying that I must have, that must have been hyperbolic because I tried hard not to call him a Nazi. So
why not just own it? You can evolve on your view. I've changed my view on several of these things. Like over time, just own it. Just own it. Just say like, yeah, okay, I believed in this at this point, or I didn't believe, or I've changed my mind on this. It's okay. Like the political landscape changes, the media landscape changes. You change your mind over time. It's okay to do that.
So that must have been a mistake.
Play the video, Mark. Mark is looking at it right now. He's like, damn. He's like, should I hit play on this motherfucker? Am I doing it?
So
he's like, I should. Please do it.
And here's my
distinction. He's not going to. Fuck, he's not going to.
I've explained this many times. I'm worried about Trump's fascism because he showed it to us. So on January 6th, but before January 6th as well, he did a fake elector plot. He then agitated people to go bomb rush the Capitol. The point wasn't to keep the Capitol. The point was to delay the proceedings so he could have his fake electors steal the election. So I've been super clear about that. That's why I hated Trump. That's why I fought tooth and nail against Trump. So those are fascist tendencies, and I have no problem calling it fascism. But it is not Nazi. Nazi is a completely different thing where they killed 13 million people and had death camps. Trump didn't have death camps. He didn't kill.
Why do people keep? There's two things that are happening. One, Nazism is not just about the death camps. Okay, number one, that's stupid. Number two, I haven't gotten to use this talking point because Piers hasn't wheeled this out. Piers always goes, "You really think that Trump is like Hitler?" Do you think Trump hasn't killed 6 million people, has he? No, but for most of his life, neither did Hitler. Hitler had not killed 6 million or 13 million people for most of his life. That was at the end, right? You know, Hitler existed before the Holocaust, right? You know, he didn't just like spawn into existence. There was a whole ass buildup to that. You know that, right? Like, it's such a stupid, even if the comparisons to Hitler, World War II, whatever, overdone, to say like, well, this guy's not Hitler yet, right? Well, no. The same way that a guy pointing a gun at your face and saying he's going to kill you isn't a murderer yet, but
kill those people, but for the right,
neither Charlie Kirk.
Yeah,
I remember neither did Nick Fuentes, but you're still comfortable calling him a Nazi.
No, but Nick Fuentes though that he defends the Nazis, so that's a giant difference.
So that's the line for you. You have to explain. And I agree, by the way, that Nick Fuentes is an evil person. He's a Nazi, etc. You're saying the person, anything short of self-identifying as a Nazi and openly supporting Hitler, you're okay sharing stage with. It sounds like.
Again, Mark, you're framing it in a way that sounds extreme. So it's.
I want you to consider that maybe what you're saying is extreme, though. I mean, I might be describing exactly what you're saying. It just doesn't sound as good coming back to you.
So
look up Hitler's coup attempt in 1923. I don't know anything about it other than like very cursory readings, but it sounded similar to the meme where I think they like tried to overthrow the government. I don't know if there was a fire involved then. Was there? But there was like basically an attempted insurrection of the government. I think Hitler and other people were thrown in prison for it. And then they released him early because they felt bad or some bullshit. And then...
No, not at all. Mark, so a couple of things. Benjamin Netanyahu is a terrorist. He's a war criminal. He committed genocide. But I would share a statement.
Reichstag fire, whatever. I think that was later, right? That's what Hitler used to say we need to take away all their freedoms or some bullshit. This was the beer hall push or something. I don't remember. I don't know exactly.
With him because of all the things that we discussed before, the ability to have the other side have a voice. You know, whether you challenge, don't challenge, you challenge screaming, you challenge whispering, At least
Wow, JWin HD, thanks for the $20. I have like 15 videos that I need to watch though. So if you're donating money for me to watch a video or do anything else, okay, it's going to be a while. Okay, chill.
I give the Palestinians a voice by being on that stage. When I go on the right-wing shows, at least I give the left wing a voice.
What voice though?
By being there. And so if you frame it as, oh, look at Cenk Uygur happily going on stage with a terrorist Netanyahu, then I seem like a bad guy. If you say Cenk Uygur giving voice to the Palestinians by being on the same stage as Netanyahu, I seem like a good guy. It's all in the framing. It's in the framing. So when you get to the
I disagree. It's not just enough. That suggests that your behavior is neutral and the framing is what makes it right or wrong. I'm saying that you can actually make different choices on that stage.
So Mark, then let me ask you back. So
Sure.
do you think that as we were talking about populism on both sides and rebelling against the establishment, and that was the theme of it that was supposed to last about 20 minutes, that I should have done a sidewinder and derailed the whole thing by attacking him on his previous quotes about black people?
Not necessarily, no. But again, that's not necessarily the only way to be courageous in that space. That's not the only way to be principled in that space. That's not the only way to do important resistance work in that space. You could pull up an old quote, or you could speak to the bigger system. You could speak to the bigger establishment. It's one thing that's, to give you a concrete example, you sat on that stage and said, we all, the left and the right, we all hate establishment media. Right? We can agree that establishment media needs to go.
But that's not true.
Everybody claps.
The right wing, they love Fox News and the people. It's the largest media channel in the United States of America by far.
That's a great feel-good moment. But again, those people who leave that room, who are the dominant consumers of mainstream media, who are the dominant viewers of mainstream media, and who are controlled by people who are right-wing, they're going to walk away saying, yeah, we got to tear down mainstream media. And they're talking about CNN, and they're talking about MSNBC.
They're not talking about Fox News. They aren't. They might like pay lip service to it, maybe, but they love Fox News. Again, viewership, highest any cable news network in the United States. They don't like Fox because it's not right-wing enough? No. Don't buy into the propaganda online. Don't buy into the memes online. Most popular cable news stations, USA. Since the election, Fox News captured 72% of the cable news audience in prime time, as MSNBC and CNN ushered in historic declines. In prime time, MSNBC has seen 62% of its age 25 to 54 audience flee the channel, with the network delivering only 56,000 in 25 to 54 and 619,000 in viewers, a 54% decline. CNN has lost over half of its audience in prime time in the 24 to 54 or 25 to 54 demo, in prime time averaging 76,000 viewers in the 25 to 54 demographic and 403,000 in viewers, averaging 76,000 and 403,000 in viewers. Oh, this is including older demographics. Fox News, FNC, Fox News Company, I think, has notched 327 of the top cable news telecasts since the day after the election, with MSNBC and CNN failing to garner over 2 million viewers since November 6th. Conservatives are very good at making themselves seem like the victim while also being in control and in charge over and over and over again. Like,
courageous is going on that stage and saying, look, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but Fox News is mainstream media too.
But I have said that on right-wing shows. So you're taking a 20-minute...
Fox News, MSNBC. Courageous is going on that stage and saying, look, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but Fox News is mainstream media too.
But I have said that on right-wing shows. So
did he? I don't think you challenged Fox News with Charlie Kirk up there. I didn't hear that.
You're taking a 20-minute event here.
I'm not saying you've never said it. I'm saying in that we're talking about how to behave in this space, right? I'm sure you've said it a million times, but we're talking about right now how to behave in that space. And when I keep pointing out what you did in that space, you try to do the sleight of hand thing, where then you talk about what you did somewhere else. I'm saying in this space, to answer your specific question you asked me, which is, should you have torn them down and brought up specific acts of racism or this other thing? I'm saying you don't necessarily have to do that or even make it so personal, right? Because I get how that could be a distraction. What you can do is say, hey, we all want to tear down mainstream media, establishment media. I'm with y'all, but let's be clear. Establishment media isn't just MSNBC and CNN. It's also Fox, which has been the voice of the right for decades now. It's OANN. It's all these things. All of this needs to be torn down. Yes, you could say that.
So, Mark, when I'm on a show like Patrick Bet David in the last 2 hours or 3 hours, we get to get into that stuff, and that's exactly what I say.
Oh, I didn't watch him on that. Damn, he's making all the rounds. PBD. He's the destiny of the Turks, the Young Turks. PBD, Cenk. How long ago was this? Did we watch? We did see it? Wait, I think I watched a clip from this. I don't think I watched the whole thing, though, did I? There's no shot I watched this whole thing. We saw the first 5 minutes, yeah. Rate his cam setup. I'm going to be honest. A lot of webcams do this new, like, artificial background blurring thing. I think it looks really bad. I think I'd rather just see, like, an ordinary background. I don't know why everybody started getting obsessed with this, but...
exactly what I say. Okay, so you're taking a 20-minute speech and go, not good enough. You didn't say it there. You didn't say it that one time. Okay, that's not
what I'm doing. You're misrepresenting my position. My position isn't that in this single instance you didn't do this one thing in a 20-minute space. My critique is that you're deploying now a strategy of entering these kinds of rooms and doing these kinds of things, and particularly these very public spectacles, right? Which is what conventions are: Democrat, Republican, left, right, whatever. They're all these public spectacles. And I'm saying that there's a significant danger in entering those spaces and not being significantly courageous. This isn't about nitpicking a particular thing you didn't do. This isn't about saying, well, you did 99, but there's the 100 when you missed. You're framing this as if we're nitpicking. And I'm saying, no, the actual logic of the strategy that you're articulating right now about how to move in these rooms, I'm saying is deeply problematic for left wing. I
don't even understand what you're saying, Mark. Well, how is it problematic? You keep calling it problematic. Everybody keeps calling it problematic.
I'll tell you why.
Why? Like, they don't need us. Because why do we have this in our head that if we're in the room, okay, then everybody loves Nazis or some weirdo thing like that?
I'm not saying it. Yeah, I don't know what you're
talking about. Like,
so let me answer you directly.
And you kiss their ass, then I see what you're saying. But if you clearly say these are left-wing positions and you fight for them in the different shows, etc., and you try to
but
get
you're not fighting.
Where they
That's
agree
the
with
issue.
Us,
you're not fighting. If you were fighting for them, then everybody would be like, yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. At least Cenk is going there and like holding them accountable. But like, you're not fighting.
That possibly be a bad thing.
Because they're agreeing with you on terms that don't disrupt their actual worldview and won't change their...
Fuck, holy shit. Actually, I just realized something. We watched this where Sam Cedar gives like the gentlest of pushback on Tim lying over his Russian money shit and that it was an ordinary deal. What changed here to have Tim invite Sam onto the show? Because Tim Pool was like Sam Cedar's #1 fucking hater. This guy, he talked shit about him like on camera, off camera. To me, like he hated Sam Cedar. Was it just because they won the election and now they're just trying to do their victory lap and scoop up whatever other viewers they think they can get from these people? Or... Damn, he hated Cedar. I wonder what changed here. Cedar's pushback was so gentle. Oh my God.
Politics. You're asking.
How do you know that, Mark?
Because you're asking.
You're assuming it, and now
I'm not.
Stopped assuming it. It turns out a lot of their voters agree with us on like 40% of things.
Right.
We can actually get 40% of things done. Really, really important things. But we were too busy calling them white supremacists to ever get there.
Again, I don't know why we're still talking about calling them white supremacists. That's a straw man you created a long time ago. I'm not.
It's not a straw man, Mark. You said it many times at the beginning. Anyway, go ahead.
Hold on. To be clear, I said to you that I believe they're white supremacists. At no point in this conversation did I say you need to go in the room and call them such. In fact, I said I stipulate that I'm not asking you to do that.
Yeah, this is stupid. Mark is repeating himself because Cenk is continually strawmanning the argument. Mark is not saying you need to go in and scream at them. You're white supremacist. He's just saying like, just be honest about what they are. But then also when you do go, like, you don't have to call them white supremacists, but like challenge them on political things. We're just like, we've looped on this same talking point like 20 times.
That I don't think you should do this. I keep saying it over and over again. This is not about calling them white supremacists. You also said I'm making an assumption. You're making a huge assumption by saying that you know that they're leaving there more open to left-wing positions. There's absolutely no evidence of that. So we're both speculating at that level. I agree that I don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. And unless you have some metric, there's no way to know that when that your appearance there had this impact that you're suggesting it does. Just like I can't prove that it didn't. So I'm saying I'll call that even. My point here, since you don't understand what I'm saying, is to use what you just said. To be clear, if someone walks into that room and they're sitting in the stands listening to you talk, and they already believe that just to use the mainstream media example, they believe that establishment media needs to go. But they also don't think Fox News is establishment media, right? They walk in thinking, get rid of CNN and MSNBC, keep Fox News, right? That's what they're thinking in the stands in this example, right? Because they don't think that's establishment media. Just like to your point, the person on the left is saying, get rid of Fox, keep MSNBC, fine, right? So that person doesn't realize Fox is that. When you sit on that stage and say, yeah, we can all agree to get rid of mainstream media, and Joe Sixpack in the stands claps and says, that's right, even the lefty guy agrees with me.
So let me
just tie a bow on it. He now has even more reinforcement for his position that establishment media needs to go, but he's still never been told that the thing he thinks isn't establishment media, Fox News, isn't. So that's what I'm saying. But now he has more legitimacy to his wrong point because you didn't actually tell him that it's wrong.
No, totally disagree. So Mark, I can go in the room and have that same exact conversation with Joy Reid, right? And then everybody in the filled with left-wingers in that case, right? And people walk out thinking, oh yeah, we got to get rid of Fox News and maybe CNN.
You know, they're not going to listen to a thing he has to say if he goes in there right now and starts arguing with them. Well, no, you do. This is, again, I feel like this is so weird. This is my blueprint, like for the entire Red Pill arc and even my conservative arc at the beginning of this year. You go on and you just pick some things to fight about. You don't have to fight over every single thing, but pick a few things to fight about and have a good time, right?
But definitely not MSNBC.
Did I crack the top 10 on this? And if they were good, shut up. Hell yeah. I wonder. Okay, fuck this. I will make it number one for podcasts they've done. See, I do bring the views. Fuck you guys. Do they have a Patreon?
Difficulty navigating.
Hold on, fuck. There's another thing I realized recently that I need to do more, which is making friends with people. Wait.
But that's not my responsibility to go to convince them that no, you also have to hate MSNBC. Now, I will tell them that if they ask me, I will tell them that in the span of a larger and longer conversation. I will tell the left the same exact thing that I'm telling the right, and I would tell the right the same thing I'm telling the left. So just because we didn't clarify Fox News or OAN in that conversation doesn't mean we shouldn't have that conversation, or that it somehow helped Charlie Kirk's nefarious.
The Patreon is right there. Oh, wait, fuck. Hold on, wait. I just want to say something stupid.
Yeah.
Why are white supremacists so offended by the white supremacist label? It's like they do believe white people are superior. Well, because it sounds bad, and they know that. For premium podcast episodes. I feel like since they edit these interviews like super heavily, like I want to say that mine was like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I see it's cut down to 47 minutes. I feel like if they uploaded the totally unedited cuts onto their Patreon, I feel like a lot of people would sign up for these, especially since the people that they interview, one, these are like funny interviews that are cut really short, and then two, because there's like pretty popular people that they're bringing on, like Cuomo and shit, and Destiny, obviously. Okay, boom, boom, boom. So I was curious, did you and Nick get along fine? He seems super weird to vibe with. How does he seem weird to vibe with? I think we all got along.
Beer. So this idea that I'm not going on left-wing shows.
Wait, wrong one. Sorry. Wait, wrong one.
His plans. So if his plans are to get rid of establishment media, that's my plans. I hate establishment media. So,
like, how can you not see that? Like, bro, what they want to put up afterwards is not what you want to see, my friend. Like, why are you deluding yourself into thinking this?
So if you say to me, "Oh my God," but then if you say, "Cenk," then what if they use it to get rid of everything but Fox News? But they didn't do that. That's a wild hypothetical. And if they did, I'd fight them tooth and nail, right? So, like, if they do things that we don't agree with, we fight. And so that's not that complicated.
Maybe we're talking
super clear about that, right? But you're assuming what's in their head and what they assumed about what I
I'm
said,
not assuming what's in
how
their
that
head.
gave strength to Charlie Kirk, but none of those things actually happened. So, like,
But we don't know what happened. No, again,
Mark,
no. But that's about it. We don't know what happened anymore in the sense of what I'm saying and what you're saying. You're almost, one would hear that and think that somehow I'm painting a hypothetical that's unprovable and yours has been demonstrably proven. What I'm saying is, you made an argument.
Yes, it is Destiny. They want independent media. Conservatives have no desire for independent media. That's not true. If that was true, then they would have huge problems with Elon and Twitter and the closeness that he has with Trump. So that's not true.
In that room that didn't challenge Joe in the stands argument. I just painted a picture of Joe in the stands and his belief on mainstream media, and you didn't really respond to that. I'm saying Joe has no reason to believe that Fox News is establishment media based on what you said on that stage. Do you have a duty to tell him that? I think you do if your goal is to challenge establishment media, to not only challenge establishment media, but to challenge what he thinks is establishment media. If that's not your goal, then that's fine. But then that doesn't advance our interests.
Do you get that since I've done that on other shows, but it wasn't part of that 25-minute conversation, that's not a fair standard to hold me to, that I didn't debunk every thought that every right-winger in the stands had within that 25 minutes, that's
like, it's the bro, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would just hang up. Like, imagine you go to a dude and he's like eating just like piles of shit out of a trash can. Like, bro, this is not healthy for you. It's like, okay, so I need to min-max every single fucking part of my diet to make you happy? No, bro, just don't eat like actual literal shit out of trash cans. Oh, okay, so what? I need to be a fucking PhD researcher to know the perfect balance of micros and macro? No, dude, just stop eating dog shit. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me? Because I don't have time to look at a million fucking health and diet YouTube videos to figure out exactly what no, bro, why the fuck do you keep saying this? Just don't eat shit. Eat like a normal, healthy diet. Oh, healthy? What? Like it's been redefined a million? No, why does he keep saying it over and over and over and over and over and over and over?
Do you get that since I've done that on other shows, but it wasn't part of that 25-minute conversation, that's not a fair standard to hold me to, that I didn't debunk every thought that every right-winger in the stands had within that 25 minutes, that's a wildly unfair standard?
So I get what you just said, but what you just attributed to me is not what I said. I keep making point A, and then you keep sort of caricaturing my point.
But the Fox News thing is like, how would I why would I didn't even assume that they would think that it's not Fox News.
But you should.
That's Fox News.
Oh, he's finally okay. Oh yeah. He's getting pissed off now. Okay, thank you. Jesus, yeah.
Assume that they would think that it's not Fox News.
But you should.
That's Fox News. Because that wasn't what the conversation was about, Mark. So that's you went really deep into that rabbit hole to come up with
No, I used your example. I literally read the transcript and went by the points you made. And again, I didn't say let's go in there and debunk every potential misconception people in the audience has. Again,
we've done this point like 20 times. Yes, we've done this so many times.
I make a point, and then you then attribute to me this absurd caricature, and then say I didn't do that, Mark. I didn't give everybody $5,000. I didn't ask you to. What I'm saying is, if you make a point,
so let me understand it right. Do you think I should have specifically made that one point that you're making about Fox News? And then
no, again, you're minimizing what I'm saying. I'm not saying my issue is that you didn't.
So I needed to make that one specific point. That's bro. How can he not understand this? He must understand this. He must. What is happening here?
Address the single point that Mark Lamont Hill was saying at this moment. That of all the points in the world to be made, I'm mad that you didn't make mine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
why, this is what I'm talking about, like the performativity. Like Mark shouldn't have to say this, right? That's obviously what he's not saying, right? Like, why didn't you push back on Charlie Kirk? What am I supposed to be, a linebacker now? What, did you want me to tackle him? How hard was I supposed to push him? Like, no, bro, nobody's saying this. Hello?
You said three things, right? For example, hypothetically. And I'm saying, if you're going to talk about those three things and make the audience believe that we're aligned on these three things, left and right, but it turns out if we actually critically analyze it, we're not, then you have to point that out. Otherwise, the powerful will walk away thinking that they're even more powerful. I'll give you an example. Let's just hear what
I do that at almost every opportunity.
And that's what.
Do what? Make the powerful think they're more powerful, or push back on something?
And that's what we're going to. What I'm saying though is every opportunity isn't the same. For example, if this were 300 years ago, just hypothetical, 200 years ago, and then I'll leave it alone. And we were in a place where black people weren't considered human beings, right? And black people legally were not citizens, right? And you were an abolitionist, and you walked in the room to a room of slaveholders and said, every citizen should get a house. Every citizen should have the right to vote. Every person should be safe in this country. We should all agree on that. And y'all clap and walk out.
That was holy shit. Pre-watch. That was exactly my point yesterday, where I said, like, you understand, like, if you were to go into a room of, I think I literally said it was slave owners or pre-civil right. I think I was going to say slave owners, and then I decided in my brain, I was like, well, I'm not going to say slave owners because people are going to say, well, all men are created equal or whatever bullshit, which I think is actually just the Declaration of Independence, or is that the preamble to the Constitution? I don't remember. So then I just changed it to pre-civil rights era people. Like, you understand that pre-civil rights, like people in the United States would say, yeah, of course we should all have the same constitutional rights. Separate but equal, that's a doctrine that comes from the Supreme Court that's like constitutional, right? Yes, they would also agree. They'd say, yeah, absolutely, fucking A, yeah. Okay, so Mark, he can use the more extreme example. Yeah, you can go to talk to slave owners. Shouldn't everybody in the USA and our new country, shouldn't we all have the same rights? They'd be like, absolutely, yeah. But it's like, hold on, well, what the fuck are you saying? What are you actually saying here? Like, this is why I always say give examples, grounded in examples and policy. Can you recite the preamble? Yes. 7 years ago, all men were created equal with inalienable rights from God for freedom of speech and the right to have Twitter accounts free from Elon's tampering.
The right to vote.
Under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Every person should be safe in this country. We should all agree on that. And y'all clap and walk out and hug out and leave, right? You could say, look at this. I just brought together the abolitionists and the slaveholders. The problem is
you didn't give an example. Oh fuck, this is such a good point. Yes, it's these high-level concepts, these abstract concepts. We all need to be safe in the United States, right? All of us are entitled to safety. Exactly. And then everybody claps. And then like half the people walk away saying, this is why we're going to have equal rights. And the other half are like, this is why the slaves need to be kept in their own houses. If you don't ground these out in examples, nobody really knows what the fuck you're saying.
They're agreeing that all people should be safe and all citizens should vote, but they don't believe that black people are citizens or humans.
Yes.
So they think they're agreeing with you because they don't accept that stipulation. Right?
Oh God! And Cenk is about to say the most condescending, patronizing bullshit in the world. I can feel it. It's that look. He always has that look when he's like, "Oh, my friend, I'm not eating dog shit. This is cat shit. You're mistaken."
But I'm saying, just let me finish the thought.
Destiny, this is where you made that point. Wait, what?
Yeah, I would argue.
Like you have. Oh, maybe he's going to bring this up, right? Like, this is so reductionist. Imagine, you ask me, okay, let's be honest. What do you think about P. Diddy? And somebody's like, fucking disgusting. I hate P. Diddy. Like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Like, okay, we can break right over that topic, right? That's good. And like, what about Cosby? Yeah, fuck Bill Cosby. I hate that motherfucker. Worst person. I gave this example. Like, maybe even worse than P. Diddy. Honestly. Okay, cool. Okay, we're going to do. Historically, when we think of like big things like civil rights, like Malcolm X and MLK, like, no, fuck those guys. Wait a second, we mean fuck those guys. Yeah, fuck those guys. Wait, why? Because they're black. Wait, why'd you hate Diddy and Cosby? We think like Weinstein. Oh no, that guy was fine. Those women knew what they were getting into. I don't like Cosby and Diddy. They're black rapists and they're just black people. And it's like, wait, okay, wait, hold on. So we're not really agreeing at all, right? Do you understand? Like the thought process is important. So to say, well, these people are booing. I agree with Destiny from yesterday. He's a real one.
And so what I'm saying is, when you have that exchange with them, you have a duty to confront them on that misconception. And you can't say, well, I said it in Bible study. I've said it on the streets. I've said it in the underground. No, when we're having that conversation, we have to say that thing. And then if I confront you on that, you can't say, well, Mark, I can't confront all the philosophical and epistemological. No, I'm asking.
Did you say I said it in the Underground Railroad? Okay, this is one thing I've never understood. Okay. Supposedly, right, there was this whole Underground Railroad for getting slaves like to freedom. How have we never seen like any videos of any tunnels? Or like, how do they actually get like whole ass fucking trains? Like, wouldn't these be subways? Shouldn't it have been called the underground? Shouldn't it have just been called the underground subway? Like, what exactly was going on there?
To say that thing. And then if I confront you on that, you can't say, well, Mark, I can't confront all the philosophical and epistemological. No, I'm not asking you to do that. I'm saying on this issue that you brought up, you have a duty to show them how they're wrong, because that's what's high stakes. That's what decides who lives or dies. That's what makes the political conversion. Otherwise, and this is the last piece of it, 5 seconds. Otherwise, the slave.
I feel like you really liked Mark after your discussion with him, and then you soured on him for some reason, and Mark seemed to be doing a really good job here. What about him do you not like? Or is Israel-Palestine takes too crazy for you? I don't remember. I feel like he talked to somebody afterwards, and I felt like his summary of our conversation was not as great. But as far as people that I disagree with on Israel-Palestine, I feel like he was probably one of the better ones, I think. Well, no, he was one of the better ones. I'm just not sure if I pushed more, if it would turn into a dog shit conversation. Like Nick Fuentes was a really good first conversation, but when I came back and I had him to talk to him the second time, I realized like, oh, this is a dog shit sloganeer person who doesn't actually know anything about what he's talking about. This is like 7 years ago. But regardless of our disagreements on Israel-Palestine, I do think Mark is one of the good ones. And by one of the good ones, I mean one of the left-leaning people that are like to the left of me that we can disagree with things on, and he's not like super unhinged or crazy.
Slaveholder walks away saying, look, me and the abolitionists agree. Let's go back to business as usual. They actually feel strengthened in their position. Now, please don't say, Mark, why are you comparing this to slavery? Please don't get on.
No.
Actually hear the heart and the substance of my argument and be intellectually honest and address. Don't walk around it. Address the specific example I gave you, and please answer it.
Yeah, no, I get the analogy completely. I totally get it. So look, there's two parts to this. Number one, you just built a straw man. You said, oh, I did it in Bible study. I did it at the grocery store. No, I did it in right-wing spaces. I did it on some of the largest right-wing.
Yeah, that would be that's not a straw man. To be clear, in 1800s, Bible study was a right-wing space. Only the right was allowed in the grocery store because black people were property. It's a perfect analogy. It's not a straw man. It's a perfect analogy.
You acknowledge I've done it in right-wing spaces, just not in that.
Examples. This is where Mark is like, okay, give me a couple examples. This is why I'm saying, like, if you want to have, there's like an evolution that's happened with the consumption of political content where people are starting to favor more long form content, which I think is good. But if we're going to do long form content, we should take advantage of the long form content space. And one of the advantages you can have is, well, we're both on a computer right now and we're going to be here for 2 hours. Let's like watch a video clip. We have time. We can do it. We can watch a minute video clip. It's not going to cut into like a 30-minute radio segment, like 12-minute radio segment. It's not going to cut into anything. It's not like we have to do this for a Twitter short or whatever, or an Instagram short or a reel or some bullshit, right? Let's watch the thing. You have the capability of doing that. Bring it up. Ask for an example. What did you push back on? Like on what do you feel? What viewpoint do you feel like you're representing accurately and honestly?
Just not the one that has us on the news right now. This is the big one.
But
This
I
is
don't
the
know
one
if
to
it's
do it.
going to make the news. Like half the time I think it's going to make news and it doesn't. I don't think half the time I don't think it's going to make any
Okay,
news.
let's not get distracted. I'll allow you to continue. I don't want to cut you off. Please continue.
Okay, so then the second part of it is, Mark, in the problem with your analogy is that in the slaveholder part of it, the fact that they hold slaves is so central to that conversation.
Isn't there some sort of psychological thing about telling someone, give me an example, or tell me one time that happened in an argument, how it's inherently manipulative? I think it can be manipulative, but it's not. I think that I got mind fucked, unfortunately. Remember I said like the left-leaning media is always like obsessed with trying to be fair and balanced and not seem biased? I think I let myself get mind fucked by other people calling me a wiki warrior debate lord, where I'm like afraid to ask for examples in a debate. And I do, but I'll hedge it a ton. I'll be like, okay, listen, like you can find me in debates where I've said this multiple times, or through multiple debates where I've said this, like, okay, I know it's not fair to ask for an example right now, or like I don't expect you to know 100% off the top of your head, but could you just give me like a general idea of what you're talking about? Like even I'm afraid to ask for examples. But if you're in a media space and this is what you do for a living, I should be able to ask that question. I should be able to say, give me an example of this. What exactly are we talking about? Because again, it's easy to talk a whole bunch of bullshit, a whole bunch of theory. And then when you're given an example, now all of a sudden it falls apart because you have no examples or it's bullshit. I'm strong against this Mark guy. He likes Candace Owens because of her takes on Israel-Palestine. Wait, no shot. Wait, this is manipulative, by the way. I hate give me an example during an argument because all of a sudden I forget everything you've ever done. Frowny face. That's called being manipulative, because if you can't give an example, don't bring it up. That's like a motherfucker. Oh, okay, never mind. I agree with this. Wait, I agree with him then too. Or her, whatever this account is. I think examples are good because they also ground out like, well, what behavior are you talking about that you don't like? If the other person can't give an example ever, then I think that's a problem, because now I don't know if you're like crazy making or you're just like fucking caricaturizing me, or if you're making claims that aren't even like true. Or boner box viral tweet. That was a good ass tweet. Okay, fuck you. MAGA has one discussion about policy in 8 years and it results in a civil war. True. I think they're talking about an abusive relationship, not a debate. I don't think they're talking about an abusive relationship. They're just talking about a relationship in general. And that's what I was talking about, yeah. If you're fighting with a partner and you're like, you always do this shit. It's like, wait, hold on. What do you mean I always do? Give me an example. What do you mean I always do this? And they're like, I can't think of anything right now. It's like, okay, well, fuck you. I don't even know if that's true then.
So you can't possibly think like, oh, I just said all citizens should have an house, and I assume that they think that that means slaves, or I assume that they think that that doesn't mean slaves. Slavery is the central part of that conversation. Are they citizens or are they not citizens? Whereas now when we are talking about establishment, mainstream media, there's a lot of different variables there, and a lot of different things that people can mean. So whether we're talking about Fox or OAN within that conversation is not necessarily central in the same way that slavery is central in your analogy, right?
Hold on.
Candace Owens has been named Anti-Semite of the Year. It's an annual contest held by the watchdog group Stop Anti-Semitism, and it was a proud moment for Candace. It seemed she was happy to accept the award. She used it not as an opportunity to hold her head in shame, as some people might have got that award, but instead to speak out, and to even accept the award and explain the reason why she's happy to get it. So check this out. Here's Candace Owens accepting her award.
It's amazing because of not just how they announced it, but the quotes that they were able to get from Stop.
This person is evil. This is like a Goebbels or a wait. Fuck, I'll learn one day. I'll learn it. Goebbels. I don't know how they say it in German. He was the chief propagandist, right? Yes. Okay. This is a Goebbels, whatever the fuck type figure. Himmler? No, wait. He was the Goebbels guy. He was the guy who was in charge of all the propaganda, right? Himmler was a German politician, principal architect of the Holocaust. She would be too stupid to do the Holocaust, but she would be the chief propagandist. This is absolutely the role that she fills. This is an evil person. This is an evil character right now that exists in our country who is like committed to the destruction of this country. The amount of propaganda and lies and poor research and conspiratorial thinking and conspiracy theories and the unvetted bullshit and all of the crazy other stooges that she brings on, and the fact that this is such a popular show, this is insane.
anti-Semitism's founder, which is a woman named Leora Rez. So they announced that firebrand pundit Candace Owens has been named the Anti-Semite of the Year by the watchdog group Stop Anti-Semitism. They say that she, quote, blew the competition away with more votes than anyone in previous years. Right there, amazing. It's like so much is going on. If you really got to paint a picture of yourself of who is terrifying the Jewish community, like who is the second coming of Adolf Hitler. It used to be Donald Trump. They're over that. Now he's in the cover of Time magazine. But also Adolf Hitler was once upon a time in the cover of Time magazine. Anyways, the point is now they...
Oh, what's up? It's Ranton. Bro, I literally taught you how to say that 2 months ago. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, bro. Okay?
realize the field...
Goebbels.
Goebbels. Goebbels. Goebbels. There you go. Is that how you want to say it? Goebbels?
Has been cleared by me, Candace Owens, okay? This is the quote that Leora Rez gave. It is exceptional. She said, Candace Owens' witch's brew of anti-Semitism drew from vile medieval blood libels, including claims that Jews drink Christian blood, conspiracies that Jews are pedophiles who control the media and are taking over America, and modern toxic anti-Israel hysteria. There is no psychotic rabbit hole too extreme for this poisonous hair. And I just wonder, like, when people give quotations like that, and then when publications decide to publish quotations like that, are they really in that much of a vacuum? Is it just like a feedback loop amongst people that are like Food Party journalists, where they don't realize how completely warped and deranged they sound to even put these things on paper? Like, no one believes this. Obviously, nobody believes this. And look no further than the New York Post comment section. It was exceptional. Just completely being...
The New York Post comment section? Oh... You understand that, like, everybody knows that I'm the smartest political debater online, right? Like, have you ever seen the comment section on a Last Night on Destiny video? Well, actually, those people are way more conservative than my normal audience. Have you ever seen the comment section on a Destiny video? Like, obviously, these people know that I'm the smartest ever, right?
Ratioed everywhere. You gotta go on Instagram. I'm gonna read you a few of these comments, but people were just reaching out. We were getting donations. They were angry at the New York Post for this, making a mockery of it. Even Grok, which is X's AI program, were like, yeah, Candace has been named Anti-Semites of the Year, but there has been some mixed reactions. So I'm gonna read some of these mixed reactions on Instagram. This user wrote, this is how you try and destroy someone through insidious rumors, and then later God finds a way to vindicate the flock of pariahs. Honestly, I'm not a fan of hers, but come on. This next person writes, she was hoping to get it. Ha ha ha. Candace is a truth teller. Hashtag Christ is king. This person writes, wow. And she had some serious competition. I did. This person writes, Israel rating American citizens by how well behaved they are. The nerve of these people. This person says, the truth doesn't make you anti-anything. She's a hero. Only genocide supporters would call her anti-Semite. The truth will get you canceled. Candace is great. Israel should be marked as anti-Christian of the year after what they did in Syria. So it's not going well, I would say, for like the pro-Israel lobby. People are not falling for this sort of thing. But it's interesting to see that...
You can tell people aren't falling for it because it was the New York Post comment section.
They have not stopped the onslaught of slander and libel this entire year when any person just wants them to practically debate why it is that America should be married to the foreign policy aims of Bibi Netanyahu and the Likud party. It makes entirely no sense. It's interesting if you just actually reflect and think about this, though.
It makes entirely no sense. So many things I want to talk about with this, right?
No, Mark, no, don't do it. No, you don't have to defend Candace Owens. No, don't do this.
Right. First, let me just start by saying Candace Owens is without a doubt a problematic figure. I debate Candace a lot. We engage a lot on other platforms, not so much here. Candace Owens is without a doubt a problematic figure. I debate Candace a lot.
Problematic? No, problematic is when you tell racist jokes to your friends that maybe bleed over too much in other parts of your life, and it might be impacting your mind, okay? Hitler was not a problematic figure in history. Hitler was a bad guy. Problematics is the car that well-intentioned people drive into bad guysville. Okay, you are not problematic once you've become the problem. Okay, ematic is like the thing when you're not quite the thing yet. You know, it's like ish. You know, Hitler was not bad-ish. He was just bad. All right.
Other platforms, not so much here. We've debated once here, I think, really discussion. But at the end of the day, Candace Owens is a very interesting and I would argue problematic figure. Candace advances, I think, theories, arguments, political positions, and even just outright claims that I think are dangerous, inaccurate, and profoundly anti-Black. I'm not saying Candace is anti-Black, but what the policy she advances are anti-Black. And I think that Candace is quite dangerous. Part of why Candace is quite dangerous is because she makes sense to the folk, right? She makes an argument that does make sense, and it's mixed in with all the stuff that I think is problematic, but it's likely dipped in truth. And for Black people in particular, we're so conservative, socially, culturally, etc., she can resonate in lots of ways. But while she's resonating, this other stuff is happening. I see lots of Black men on social media engage her and like her and agree with her. Again, but it tends to be around things that are homophobic, transphobic. I'm not saying all Black men are those things. I'm just saying the men who I've seen engage her are engaging her on these issues. And so there's a lot of danger in this, sort of normalizing this right-wing agenda, this Trump agenda, as Candace does. I think these are all things that are problematic. At the same time, Candace ain't wrong on Israel. Now, I would say she needs to push her critique even deeper. This isn't just about Bibi Netanyahu. This isn't just about the Likud party. This isn't just about the...
Okay, I don't like that he supports any part of fucking Candace ever. I think it's really bad. I think it's super horrible. I wouldn't even agree with her on the Israel shit because it's probably coming from a deeply rooted place of anti-Semitism. But I appreciate that he at least gave this qualifier first, okay? I appreciate that at least.
The particular regime that's in place in Israel right now, Israel as a state, is structurally incapable of yielding democracy or justice. It's an ethno-state. And unfortunately, it's an ethno-state that is built upon the exploitation, the extraction, the marginalization, the repression of Palestinian people. And so I'm saying Candace go even further in her critique of Israel, but Candace really came to the fore.
None of this qualifier addresses her anti-Semitism. listen up, okay? In the United States, we love all people, and we love our black people, and we just don't talk about the anti-Semitism, okay? That's for another day. Okay, if you guys are allowed to say that Palestinians are homophobic because they're getting bombed too much, okay? Listen, we just don't talk about that, okay? That's okay. We give them that one, all right? They've earned at least a little bit of something, all right? Because they have had a rough time, rough history in the U.S. We'll give them a little bit of anti-Semitism. They can, okay, that's fine, whatever.
In the last 12 months, with her critiques of the Israeli genocide in Gaza. By speaking up against Israeli genocide in Gaza, Candace Owens suddenly had friends that she never expected, but a whole lot more enemies that she never expected. Suddenly, Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire, you know.
Okay, all right.
What's central in this conversation?
So what's central in this conversation is, do they actually believe that means slaves? Or I assume that they think that that doesn't mean slaves. Slavery slaves is so central to that conversation. The second part of it is, Mark, the problem with your analogy is that in the slaveholder part of it, the fact that they hold slaves is so central to that conversation. So you can't possibly think like, oh, I just said all citizens should have an house, and I assume that they think that that means slaves, or I assume that they think that that doesn't mean slaves. Slavery is the central part of that conversation. Are they citizens or are they not citizens? Whereas,
oh, come on. No, you shouldn't even grant him that. I understand he doesn't want to be like ultra combative, but like, no, you can understand the analogy. Come on, bro.
Right now, when we are talking about establishment, mainstream media, there's a lot of different variables there, and a lot of different things that people can mean. So whether we're talking about Fox or OAN within that conversation is not necessarily central in the same way that slavery is central in your analogy, right?
What's central in this conversation?
So what's central in this conversation is, do they actually believe some of these populist opinions, right? Do they actually dislike establishment politicians because they take donor money and hence are corrupt? And that's super central. And yes, my assessment is the MAGA voters, and yes, they're not seeing clear on Trump, they're not seeing clear on Elon Musk, but they do hate the corruption.
How can you not see clear on Donald Trump, who's one of the most transparent figures ever? How can you not see clear on Elon Musk when everything he does is so transparent? What are they not seeing? Hello? Maybe they just don't give a fuck.
And they do hate the donor class.
To that point, they clapped you when you said establishment media. They clapped when you said we hate Dick Cheney and Mitch McConnell. When you said we got to get rid of the donor class, no one clapped.
I noticed that. You know why, Mark?
You know why, Mark? Why? What's he going to say? Because I was combating them on that? Because I brought up Elon, or what? He didn't bring up Elon.
Challenge them by talking about their donors. And I've done that.
Wrong, lies, liar. About their donors? Say his name. President Musk. Say his name. Elon Musk. Not the amorphous, nebulous, whatever fucking donor people. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Say his name. How can you ever talk about donor class and not mention Elon Musk? This guy bought a whole media platform for $44 billion. To use it to promote Trump. How can you not say that name when talking about donors?
Many shows. And I've talked about, hey, remember, Elon's a donor. Remember, Elon's a donor.
You didn't say it to Charlie.
I've talked about Miriam Adelson being a donor. When I get to Miriam Adelson, we go back to agreement, okay? And you might not expect that from the right wing who supported Israel throughout my entire life. But now when we talk about Israel with the right wing, half of them go, yeah, no, you're right. I don't know why we're... And they're not doing it out of the charity of their heart. They're not doing it because they love Muslim lives so much. They're doing it because they don't want, in their way of thinking, they don't want to waste money on there. Why are we giving it to Israel when we should be having it here at home? But I'll take it. But I never would have gotten there if I never talked to them. I never would have realized.
Yeah, but you didn't move them in that position. Some of them, the hatred of Jews, and most of them just the not seeing the point in America being involved in these things. Those same people, they're like, good, I'm glad you guys don't want to be militarily involved with Israel. We're like, yeah, we need to save our money so that we can give it to Americans who can buy M4s and go to Panama and take that over. It's like, wait, hold on.
Realize how much they've got concerned about funding Israel if I hadn't talked to them. So these are the things that we discover when we go to have these conversations. On the other hand, when you get to Elon, they pause and they're like, wait.
I thought Cenk did very briefly mention Musk as a donor. If he did mention it, it was in the lightest way possible. I don't remember him mentioning it. Cenk, turning point. Elon Musk, donors. I don't think he ever mentioned Elon here.
In a new direction. They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money. They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left...
Keep in mind also, when you say populism, all populism really means is you've got a group of citizens who are opposed to the bureaucracy or parts of it. That's it. Like, One way that populism expressed itself was in the civil rights era when labor unions fought against integrating and promoting black workers. This was populism. They felt that the bureaucracy and the Civil Rights Act was disgusting. It was a huge overreach of the federal government, that the federal government is going to come in and start telling us that we have to hire people of protected classes, that we can't discriminate on this. That was a form of populism, right? Populism can also express itself in ways of like we want to, I don't know, left-wing or right-wing ways. Like it can but populism on its own is not necessarily good or bad. It's just like a thing of people who have some level of discontent with the establishment and see a strong man or figure as their way kind of like through it, broadly speaking. But it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing in and of itself. And if anything, as an American citizen, our country is pretty foundationally and structurally is pretty opposed to the concept of populism, because all of the founding fathers, my guess is, would say, or at least the Federalists would also say that populism is literally fucking brain rot. Populism is the worst of us. Populism is crowds of men angrily screaming for a particular thing that they might even know individually or personally is wrong, but because they're in a group, they'll say this stupid thing and they'll do this stupid thing. And that's why we have all of these processes and procedures to stop these types of things. My favorite one so far has been Federalist number 15. It's a heavy one, but there's a lot of good quotes in here. It at all times betrayed an ignorance of the true springs by which human conduct is actuated and belied the original inducements to the establishment of civil power. Why has government been instituted at all? Spoiler alert, at least up to Federalist 19, is not for freedom of speech. Fuck me. Because the passions of men will not conform to the dictates of reason and justice without constraint. Has it been found that bodies of men act with more rectitude or greater disinterestedness than individuals? The contrary of this has been inferred by all accurate observers of the conduct of mankind, and the inference is founded upon obvious reasons. Regard to reputation has a less active influence when the infamy of a bad action is to be divided among a number than when it is to fall singly upon one, right? Groups of people make dumb decisions. They don't have as much responsibility for it. A spirit of faction, which is apt to mingle its poison in the deliberations of all bodies of men, will often hurry the persons of whom they are composed into improprieties and excesses for which they would blush in a private capacity. Populism, I would say, probably stands against like foundational American principles. It's why we have things like protected classes. It's why we have a Senate. It's why we have some form of federal government, like is to stand in opposition to just like large mobs of people that want to scream about a thing. But that's neither here nor there, whatever.
Wait, I like Elon, right? So that means you got more work to do. And in the next conversation, you talk a little bit more about Elon and a little bit more, etc. So this is a way to break through and for the country to finally like have conversations without constantly just walling each other off and saying they think we're so extreme. Like, for example, I go to talk to Charlie Kirk. The left is saying, oh, I can't believe you talked to Charlie Kirk when he said X, Y, Z. But do you know that the right wing is saying the same thing to Charlie? I can't believe you talked to Cenk when Cenk has said Nazi, fascist about Trump, and which I didn't even remember the Nazi part, but you showed me there, and there's a video going around, so I must have said it.
Yeah, but the difference is that when you're talking to Charlie and when you're talking to Tim, they're pulling you over just to agree with their point. They're not giving you any concessions. Charlie didn't make a single concession to you. Charlie didn't agree on a single thing to you, but he got you to sit there and throw the entire Democratic establishment, which represents, by the way, 95% at least of the Democratic Party, under the bus. Charlie didn't throw anybody under the bus. In fact, I want to say, I feel like I remember this, but I don't remember exactly what I think there was an end here where I think Cenk was even trying to get Charlie to come over on something, and Charlie didn't even take the bait.
Against the bankers, they're like, no, the bankers are great, the bankers are great. Oh, I was so frustrated. And now all of a sudden, we got the right-wing populists saying, let's ban the bankers from buying our homes so they don't drive up the prices. Yes. The left, take yes for an answer. And look, what I said online on X was, at least what we got out of this.
Listen, my arguments are not contrarian, okay? Because I'll back them all up. Fuck you if you say it. Challenge me on it. But I will say, I would feel very uncomfortable being in front of an audience like this and having them cheer for me, okay? I would much rather be booed. I love the boos from these types of audiences. Yes, hate me. Yes, hate me. Yes.
Election is. We're no longer in an establishment prison. Now we're in the populist woods, right? And if you say, yeah, but we're going to fight in the populist woods, yes. But at least we're all human out here. We defeated the corporate robots, and we've got more fights with the corporate robots to come. But out here in the woods, when I see you guys, I don't hate you anymore, right? I see my fellow Americans.
Like, what does corporate robot mean? What is a corporation? Is the Trump brand Is that composed or comprised of corporations? Is Tesla a corporation? Is SpaceX a corporation? Is X a corporation? Like, what is a corporation if not these things? And what are Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump and any of these other billionaires if not the heads of corporations? I'm sure he's quoting theory, and I don't know what theory he's quoting, but it reminds me of in 1984 when Winston and that girl break into that house and they're reading like the forbidden literature. One of the things that they read is that the way that society works is like you have the rulers, and then you've got like the people beneath them, and then you've got like the lower class. And that history is just the rulers and the people beneath them swapping places over and over and over again, with like the lower class like cheering for different power changes, but they're never ever advanced through any of these like power ship swaps. And that's what this feels like a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, MAGA is not benefiting from Elon Musk getting H-1B visas or, you know, more tax cuts for fucking SpaceX and Tesla. Like,
And so in these populist woods, we'll sometimes have skirmishes, sometimes we'll have battles. But the main thing I'm trying to drive with the 6 points of the populist plan.
That's directly from Marx? Okay, maybe, yeah.
Higher wages for Americans, time off for moms after they have a baby, anti-corruption,
totally
anti-war. The reason
at the Pentagon?
Oh, yes. So the reason I picked those is not because they're the most left-wing positions, because those are the positions we all agree on, right? And God help the establishment if we actually work together to do those things. And finally, to the heart of your question, Charlie, you know, I propose on X, cut the Pentagon, make sure the generals cannot work for the military-industrial complex afterwards, and free Edward Snowden.
I agree.
Turning point, if you will, in how I started to view the right wing is when you came on the Young Turks at the RNC, and you know we started talking about banning private equity from buying residential real estate.
So which I totally agree with. That the young people in this audience should not have to compete against BlackRock to be able to own a home. Do you guys agree?
Oh wait, here, was it this? 1 second.
Okay, but I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Oh, and he just fucking destroys him. Like, Cenk is coming at this so, and this is why Charlie Kirk's demeanor and disposition, I don't know whether those two words, that's why I always sound together. Charlie Kirk's disposition here is so intentional. Same thing with Tim Pool, right? Guiding the conversation to where he wants it to go, right? That when Cenk is crawling and begging, okay? Cenk is begging, I've crawled this far. Can you like meet me like 10%? Charlie, this is an incredibly confrontational, in terms of conversational maxims or whatever, right? He is an incredibly confrontational response to this, right? No.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys...
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah.
And then Cenk just abandons it immediately.
No, there was a lot of applause.
Which is like so funny because it's like, well, wait, then in that case, why the fuck do we care about BlackRock buying up homes? Who cares then? It's the free market.
With some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. So guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right and I say it to the left.
For sure. So we're going to go a little overtime because I know the boss here.
And then he generalizes it again, right? Like, all Americans should have freedom. Yay! Even the black slaves. Okay, well, we can at least agree that all citizens, Americans, should have freedom. Yay! It's like, okay. That's a start, guys. Like, that's essentially Mark's example. And that's essentially what's happening. Like, the analogy was on point. It worked, but I don't even think Cenk engaged with it. He managed to slither away from that as well.
But that's okay. And Jenkins defends trans girls going into high school sports in women's. So a lot of people hate that Charlie talked to me because they view me as completely extreme and illegitimate and out of bounds.
No, I don't think any of them were unhappy about that conversation. They might not like you, but they didn't judge Charlie harshly for it.
We're doing is we're breaking down some walls. So, but
do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin? Do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin?
Well, look, that's a good question because
we're
illegitimate and out of bounds.
Wait, what?
And what we're doing is we're breaking down some walls. So, but
do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin? Do you believe that you and Charlie Kirk are opposite sides of the same coin?
What does he think Charlie Kirk stands for or believes in? Cenk, no. How do you have to think about this?
Well, look, that's a good question because so I don't hate white people, and
What does that have to do with anything? What? Wait, what was that response? I don't hate white people? What?
I don't say anything against white people in general. I would never say like, hey, if I go into a plane and there's a white pilot, I'm worried. All right, so it's not exactly right that we're the same side.
Exactly. That's why it's not fair to say, well, they say the same thing about me. Well, y'all ain't the same. I also think it's interesting that you
think it's the same, Mark, but they do think it's the
But
same.
it's okay to say they're wrong. But also, I just to be a little petty, I appreciate you saying you're not like Charlie Kirk because you don't hate white people. You accept that Charlie Kirk hates black people, which I appreciate. I just think it's wild and bizarre that you can accept that he hates black people and don't think he's a white supremacist. That's just weird to me. But just I know you guys go.
It's such an unhelpful term. I can't stand it.
Well, as a black person,
it is an unhelpful term. I agree, but that's not really what he's talking about. Hold on, let me use the restroom 1 sec. I need to get some fucking blood pressure medication for this shit. Jesus. 1 sec. Ooh, ho, ho, ho.
And as a black person, I can tell you, I find it unhelpful that someone can acknowledge someone hates black people, but thinks the most unhelpful thing is calling them a white supremacist. I mean, can you imagine?
No, that's not helpful, brother, because I can show you 100 Islamophobes that are hardcore Islamophobes, but me calling them Islamophobes is not helpful. It's never going to break through to them. You've got to...
Destiny will only answer comments that support his ideas. Saying that SpaceX is a corp is simply incorrect. What am I incorrect on there? What do you mean? Are you going to try to like actually me and that like SpaceX is actually like an LLC subsidiary of like another corporation, or what do you... What? Protests the issuance of delivery order number. Wait, is this literally the name of the company? Space Exploration Technologies Corporation. SpaceX is privately owned, though. What do you think that means? And what do you think a corporation is? And in the United States, we need to ban the word public. Just shouldn't be used. Nobody has any fucking idea what public means. When people talk about a public space, they don't know what it means. When people talk about like publicly traded corporations, they're not public. They're not publicly owned. Never mind. Okay. Sorry. Corporation just refers to like the formal structure of a company. So for a C-level corporation in the United States, I believe that there are requirements where you have to do like quarterly meetings. You have to have like a board of directors. There might be other requirements. I don't know. I don't have a C Corp. Publicly traded just means that shares, so parts of your business that people can buy, are available on markets. So like if I go to the like they're available for public, like a public person can just buy a share of your company, right? A privately traded or privately owned corporation, those shares aren't necessarily available for people to just buy and sell on whatever stock market things. I don't know how you get listed in particular exchanges or whatnot, but
go to a different strategy. So when I go to a different strategy, instead of going, hey, I wonder how that'll turn out.
Yes, correct. I can start a corporation tomorrow and be the sole owner, owning all shares. When you are publicly traded, technically each shareholder is an owner. I don't know what you think this has to do with refuting anything I said. Also, I'm not sure if you can have a single member C Corp. Because I think you actually have to have like different positions that are filled, but maybe the same person can hold those different positions. I think you have to like have meetings and shit, like quarterly or yearly. Can you make a single member C Corp? Let me check. I don't actually know. Where's my tax guy in chat? I don't think doing a C Corp election is the same as forming a C corporation. So like for instance, my LLC, I've done the S Corp election, but I don't think I'm technically like an S corporation. I'm just having my LLC get an S Corp tax treatment, but I don't think that's the same thing as having an actual C corporation. But I would have to get into, I don't know enough about this because I don't have a formal corporate entity. I don't think you can form a C corp with a single person. I think you need to have like a board and shit, or like a C-level thing filled out or something. I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I don't know. Okay.
Gotta go to a different strategy. So when I go to a different strategy, instead of going, hey, I wonder how that'll turn out, which I think you're basically doing, which I appreciate, and that's why there's an interesting conversation. Yeah. I've got other folks saying, no, tear them down. Don't ever talk to anyone on the other side. They're white supremacists. They're this, they're that. That if you go in the room with them, they instantly gain credibility and legitimacy, and now you've helped them. Help them how, man? I don't know, man. I just think the idea of not hating them, being helpful to them, is a very wrong way of thinking about it.
Well, I think one way, and I know we got to go. I think again, it's not to me about going in the room. It's what we do in the room.
Curious, when you started the Red Pill arc, how did you gain the trust of the viewers? Were you able to go in there and immediately start arguing over some of their fundamental beliefs? No, my approach was always trying to balance a couple of very important things, or a few very important things. One is that I always wanted to have a good time, right? It's important when I go on shows that it looks like I'm having fun and that I am having fun. That's an important thing because it makes people more likely to listen to things you say. Like my Fresh and Fit appearances, the first several ones, I think the last one I might have just been legitimately fucking irritated, but most of my appearances are funny. It's a good time. I'm making good jokes. Like I'm like, bantering back and forth. Like being able to go on a show and have a good time is actually a really important thing. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I'm probably not going to fight on every point, and I'm going to let a lot of shit slide that I wouldn't agree with, but I will find a few important things that I think this is worth fighting over. That was generally my strategy when I went on these types of shows.
But I think the one thing a white supremacist hates being called is a white supremacist. The one thing that racists hate being called is a racist. And I think, and usually the people calling them racist or white supremacists are the people who are catching hell from them. And so I think it's sort of bizarre to police the language or to tell someone, for example, hey, that person that hates Muslims, it's not helpful for you. That person that called you a towelhead, that person that called you a devil worshiper, that person that called you a pagan and a rapist, it's not helpful to call them Islamophobic. Oh, that person that called you a nigger, oh, no. It's not helpful for you to call them white supremacists. That feels paternalistic and almost is disrespectful to the people who are victimized by it. You may think it's
You have to have a treasurer, president, and secretary. That's the only actual titles in a C Corp. Everything else is just a title as required. Yeah, I think that might be right. I don't know if the same person can be those three things, but maybe they can be. I'm not sure.
Helpful, but I actually don't think it's your place or anyone else's place. It's like it'd be like saying, I don't think it's helpful to. It would be like me saying to women, I don't think it's helpful for you guys to call Donald Trump sexist or misogynistic. I don't think that's helpful, ladies. I mean, come on. Can you see why somebody would find that a problematic claim for you to make?
No, hold on. You're conflating two things that is super unfair, because you can call them anything you like. I'm not stopping you from calling them. I'm not stopping women from calling them whatever.
Okay, no, but that's not what he's saying. Oh, bro, Cenk is doing so much weaseling around here. He's not that he's criticizing you, Cenk. He's not saying like I'm saying that you're saying I can't say this.
They want. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, right? And in fact,
no. You're not doing that.
Hold on, Mark.
That's not what you said. No, I'm calling the contradiction.
No, hold on, Mark.
That's not what you said.
No, Mark.
You can backtrack, but that's not what you said. What you said was, I don't think it's helpful. I hear people doing this and it's not working. Let us try something different. Let us, not let me.
Mark. No. Okay, hold on. So number one, are you allowed to say whatever the fuck you want? Of course, right? I don't police anyone.
But you think it's unhelpful.
Yeah, but is it unhelpful? Yes. Okay. Now that's up to you. You want to be unhelpful because you're pissed. I get it. Especially if it affected you. So like if I go tell a fellow Muslim, hey, it's unhelpful to say the Jews are this or the Jews are that, and he goes, I don't want to hear that shit. Okay, my family got killed. I hear him, and he can say whatever he wants, right? But is it unhelpful? It is unhelpful. Okay. So for example,
that's what you're saying.
Let me finish my thought. So Hillary Clinton and everybody and Kamala Harris, what did a lot of people do? They call Trump sexist, right? And I think that they have a lot of evidence on their side. But was it helpful? No, it wasn't helpful. It didn't work. Okay. So hold on, let me finish. So all I'm asking is, let me do my thing without assuming bad intent, without assuming that I'm helping. Because what I'm hearing from some portions of the left is, you're not allowed to do it. Not, hey, I don't want to do it. Hey, I want to call them white supremacists. They say, no, you have to call him a white supremacist. And if you didn't call him that, then that's it. You're a bad guy. You're a traitor. You're a racist or whatever. No.
Like, no one is talking about this anymore. And you guys used to do this to people, didn't they? I'm trying to think if I remember them particularly being upset about people not being pure enough on that. I don't actually know if the Young Turks did that. I feel like they did. That's my feeling. But maybe they weren't the ones doing that. But nobody's talking about this right now. Why do I feel like Cenk is like a decade behind? Ugh. Why do I feel like Cenk is like a decade behind where the discourse is right now?
I don't accept that. You're not going to get me to say anything that I don't want to say. I believe in your freedom to say whatever you want, Mark, and I'm going to say whatever I want. And I think my strategy is infinitely better. I'm going to execute that. I'm going to get us some policy wins, I hope, over the long run. And then I'm going to say you're welcome.
I hope you do. Just to be clear, just on that last point. Again, I wasn't trying to tell you what to say or not to say. I was pointing out the contradiction. What you had said was you were only saying it's unhelpful for you. You weren't saying it was unhelpful. You weren't telling other people it was unhelpful. You weren't policing or critiquing the actions of others based on me saying.
Fuck. This is so not related to any of this. Okay, another thing that is annoying about vertical integration of companies, okay, so if you have an iPhone, something that's really cool is if you have like a Apple MacBook, whatever the fuck they're called, or like an iPad, you can do this like broadcasting your screen, or you can do a thing where you're interacting with your phone directly on the Apple device, okay, which is cool, but you can't do this like on any Windows machine, which is annoying. If Apple didn't own both laptops and phones, that ability to broadcast something would just be done via a standard that anybody would be able to access. But because they're all locked in on their own fucking walled gardens and ecosystems, you can't do that. That's annoying. Okay, sorry.
Let me finish. Based on me saying that I find, when I hear you say it's unhelpful, I find that problematic as a person who's on the business end of the white supremacy. And what you just said was you weren't telling us that. You were only speaking for yourself. But then even in your rejoinder...
Just as a heads up, because I know some of you are typing it right now, it's 180-day bans for some fucking retard that's going to talk about using a fucking emulator or some bullshit on my computer. I've already got it typed up. So good luck. If you're typing it in right now, I hope that this message gets to you before you put your absolutely... there's one. Third-party app. You're gone for half a year. See ya. Boop. Wait, hold on. Ooh, got an emote instead. Who else? I'm waiting for you. Anybody? Nope. Okay. Yeah, you're lucky.
In your response, you pointed out that you actually are saying to the people that it was unhelpful. This isn't about their right to say it, free speech, but you're telling them that it's unhelpful. And I'm saying, telling black people, or telling women, or telling Muslims, or telling trans folk, hey, you have a right to say this. It's your experience, but I'm just telling you that's unhelpful. I'm just telling you, even in terms of strategically uniting folk, as a black person and as a Muslim and as whatever title you want to put on me, when I'm told that thing, for every right-wing person you potentially get, I'm telling you, you're going to lose a whole lot of us.
Okay. So, Mark, here's the thing. Again, the framing is critical because you said two words that are not the same. You said policing and critiquing. Okay, so I am critiquing the strategy, but I'm not policing it. I'm not the boss of anyone, okay? So people want, and in fact, on our own network, everybody's allowed to say whatever they want, and tons of our hosts disagree with me from the left on the trans issues and on all the things that you've challenged me on. And I don't police that. I don't police it. But do I critique it? Yeah, because we're having a discussion about what's the best strategy to win people over to our side.
Fair enough. That's fair. I'm saying as a black person being told, hey,
I'm going to risk it. Has Destiny seen your phone that comes with Windows? Why do you guys link the first thing that you Google? Why do you Google a thing and then you link the very first thing? Why do you do this? Your phone. The latest major updates and features for your phone. We value your feedback, so give these features a try and let us know what you think. November 11, 2020. Announcing your phone multi-apps experience. Interact with multiple Android mobile apps at the same time on your Windows 10 PC. This doesn't support iPhone. It's just Android.
Hey, you shouldn't call the white supremacist white. I can see if you said, Mark, I don't think he's a white supremacist. I think that's fair ground. But saying, yeah, he does hate black people, but it's not helpful to call him a white supremacist. I'm just telling you.
But even when you say he hates black people, it's more complicated than that. It's like
what you said. I said, are you opposite sides of the same coin? And you said no, because I'm not like Charlie Kirk. I don't hate white people. We're not opposite sides of the same coin. One would infer that you were saying that he hates white people. That's not a...
No, I know. And that's why.
Do you like Apple phones more now? No, I hate the iPhone, and I hate that I fucking use the iPhone. But the problem is all of Apple's accessories are king. There's just nothing better than AirPod Pros right now, unfortunately. The iPad is just the god tier fucking tablet pad thing, unfortunately. I don't know about the Apple Watch compared to the Google Watch. I can't speak to that. But the AirPod Ultimate things, the AirPod Pros or whatever, and the iPad are just so good. And it's just so much better if you have an iPhone to integrate with them, which is fucking annoying, but...
Why I'm clarifying that, Mark.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and so Charlie has said those things that are deeply problematic and that are those...
You need the U.S. to start regulating shit? Nope. Sorry, the United States is too basically destroyed at home and conflicted amongst ourselves to ever get anything done. We need you in Europe. We need the European Union and the European Commission to keep making progress on that, because you're literally the tech enforcer, regulator, saviors of the world right now. That's why iPhones now use USB-C, and it's where we got the GDPR. Like it's like now Europe has to lead on that, because we just can't regulate anything in the US anymore. We've been debating for like 20 years on whether or not to ban fucking TikTok, and we can't even figure this shit out. Like
racist, right? Well, I mean, why are we worried about a black pilot? That's crazy. And in fact, I challenged him on that in one of our interviews, and he walked it back a little bit, not all the way, but he walked it back a little bit. And in fact, the fact that he walked it back,
what? Hold on,
right? Said those things that are deeply problematic, and that are those comments were racist, right? Well, I mean, why are we worried about a black pilot? That's crazy. And in fact, I challenged him on that in one of our interviews, and he walked it back a little bit, not all the way, but he walked it back a little bit. And in fact,
wait, first of all, not all the way. That's wild. That's crazy. But wait, is he talking about Charlie Kirk here, or is he talking about somebody else? Who is he talking about for this interview?
But it's not helpful to call him a white supremacist. I'm just telling you.
But even when you say he hates black people,
it's not helpful to call him. I can see if you said more than that.
Can somebody link the interview where Charlie Kirk walks back a little bit, the DEI pilot thing? I really want to hear this.
I like Charlie Kirk. I don't hate white people. We're not opposite sides of the same coin. One would infer that you were saying that he hates white people. That's not a...
No, I know. And that's why I'm clarifying that, Mark.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and so Charlie has said those things that are deeply problematic, and that are those comments were racist, right? Well, I mean, why are we worried about a black pilot? That's crazy. And in fact, I challenged him on that in one of our interviews, and he walked it back a little bit, not all the way, but he walked it back a little bit. And in fact, the fact that he walked it back a little bit surprised me, right? So, okay, now we have that conversation, and all of a sudden he's walking it back a little bit. Okay, so that's a little bit of a win there. But in terms of again, helpful or not helpful. So you remember the protest in Washington?
It's a little bit of a win to get a guy to acknowledge that it's not super horrible if black people have jobs that white people have too. What is the what?
On Israel, and somebody writes burns an American flag, and somebody writes Hamas on a statue. So yeah. I'm not the boss of them. I can't stop them from doing that. Okay, nor would I want to live in a world where I stop them from doing that. Having said that, not helpful. Okay, and it's my job as a host to say what I think is helpful and not helpful. And that was deeply unhelpful. It drives people away from us. We want people to relate to Palestinians, to relate to Muslims, and feel like, oh, there but for the grace of God go I. And when you write Hamas or you burn America.
Who's going to tell Destiny that phone link works with iPhone? On Android, you can do everything almost, I think, on your phone, on your computer. At the very least, you can text, which is nice. For the iPhone phone link, I'm pretty sure all it does is it shows you notifications on your fucking computer from your phone. That's it. I don't think you can even respond to them.
Flag, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not like you. I'm the other, and you should be worried about me. You should be concerned about me. And I think it's a bad strategy. And as a
do you think that's analogous?
It's literally my job to say what I think is good and bad strategy.
Do you think what you just described is analogous to telling a black person not to call a person who hates black people a white supremacist?
No, I would never tell a black person to say this or that. But if that person was the campaign chair for Kamala Harris, then yes, I would have that conversation, because then they're not just speaking for themselves. They're trying to win an election, and that's a different dynamic and a different context. But hey, you're angry. Somebody was racist to you. You want to call them a racist? Of course, I totally get it. Obviously, I mean, and I told you earlier, right? So when people come at me in an
do you ever use CarPlay? I don't on my current car. On newer cars, I have. I used to not in the past because I don't like that. CarPlay, it had less. I think this might be changing in some cars, but I don't like that I can't control like my Maps app and everything from my phone because I turn on like Android CarPlay or Apple CarPlay. That drives me fucking crazy. I don't know if it was like that for Android or if it was just like that for older cars, but maybe that's changed on some newer ones.
Unfair way in those Israel debates, I call him a racist or a bigot right back at him. It depends on the context. What are we trying to accomplish? In that case, why did I call him that? Because I'm trying to get them to understand just blanket calling someone anti-Semitic doesn't win the argument. I could just do the same exact thing and call you a bigot. And I didn't win the argument either, but at least we've neutralized it. But if they're not bringing it up and they're not saying this or that in a place where you're trying to stop private equity from buying our residential homes, I think it's poor strategy to say, well, look at me working with these white supremacists or whatever it might be. I don't want to do straw man. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Fair enough. So what's the end game here? How do you see this ending?
Yeah, there's two possible ways. So one is that we try this, etc. Then Trump starts doing things. And they're not any of the things that the right-wing populists talked about. And then when Trump does them, they instantly change their position and go, no, I love when private equity buys my homes. I want moms to go back to the coal mines the day after having a baby. I love war now. Let's invade Panama.
Like, you understand bringing back manufacturing to the U.S. and not shipping things from that's literally going back to the coal mines. Trump is literally obsessed with clean coal. Like, he literally has said this over and over again. Clean coal, clean coal. Like, who do you think is going to mine it?
Okay, then my mission failed, and my strategy was not right. And you know what I'll do then? I'll adjust, because that's what thoughtful people do. They try to find a way to get to the answers that we want. Okay, now that's the bad case scenario. The good case scenario is not nirvana.
Do you use the iPhone map or Google Map? I use Google Maps, although it's annoying because I haven't figured out, and I don't think you can do this. When somebody sends you an address in a text message and you click it on an iPhone, I don't think there's any way to get it to, by default, open up Google Maps, even if you have Google Maps set as your default map app, which is really fucking annoying, but whatever. Nowadays, I'm pretty sure all of the map apps are about equal. I know that Apple used to have a really bad reputation for maps, but they're probably all fine now, I think.
Answers that we want. Okay, now that's the bad case scenario. The good case scenario is not nirvana. Trump does not turn into Bernie Sanders. The good case scenario is, as they're doing other things, including an enormous robbery that's about to happen, okay, maybe we get a couple of wins. Maybe, in fact, this is the craziest thing I'll say. I'm a tiny bit hopeful about turning around on Israel, because I've heard.
Who is he listening to? Because you think a couple of Nazis online represent the main thrust of the MAGA movement? You think that you understand that, like, the biggest schism between Trump and the online crazy people, the Nazis, are Israel, right? Like, that's the biggest pain point.
I'll say, I'm a tiny bit hopeful about turning around on Israel, because I've heard those right-wing guys. They don't want to keep funding Israel. I'm telling you that right now, okay? If we got to turn around on Israel, oh my God, that would be such a giant win in the midst of what appeared to be hopeless times. Now that's a hope against hope, okay? But
like, keep in mind the difference here. For Kamala Harris, you say you want to limit some of what Bibi Netanyahu's doing. You say that you want to bring the war to an end as soon as possible. You say bullshit, 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 not good enough. Genocide, 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 genocide supporter. You're genocide supporter. She supports genocide. Genocide administration, genocide, genocide. But for Trump, it's like, okay, now I know you said you wanted to ramp up the genocide, but there is a slight chance that maybe in the future they'll change their opinion on it, even though he's given no inclination that he would ever do that, and he's said the opposite over and over again. Like, the different standard is crazy. Like, why couldn't he be as charitable as he's being to right-wingers? Why not be that charitable to the actual, like, Democratic Party? What the fuck?
But can we win on any one of those things? Like, for example, like, this is the easiest one, right? I say, one of the things I say is pardon Edward Snowden, because I know that they want to pardon Edward Snowden, right? And we agree with pardoning Edward Snowden. And what that does is, that doesn't change the world, but it takes a first step towards unity. And then let's see, well, do they really mean it on cutting the Pentagon? Because the voters mean it. The voters mean it, or at least a big portion of them do. I know that the politicians don't mean it. So now that's an interesting collision. And what happens? Does the populist right wing rebel, or do they just simmer back down and go, yes, sir, absolutely, sir? I don't know. And I think that's super interesting. A lot of folks on the left say, no, they already know. They already know. Nobody on the right ever means anything. They're all robots, or they're all evil, or whatever that they think. That's just not true. They're human beings. And there's a giant range of that 77 million voters.
You know, when you came on the show, I thought the biggest thing we were going to end up disagreeing on was you being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which has been as deflating a movement.
I still don't understand. How do you choose which sports team you're a fan of when it comes to, like, pro sport? I understand college stuff because it's where you live, but especially when you have NFL teams and you don't even have one where you live, how do you choose a sports team?
In the last 3 weeks is anything happening politically, but it turned out we were going to have we had this spirited conversation, and just like you said.
What are your thoughts on Edward Snowden and the Silk Road guys getting pardoned? I don't know enough about the Silk Road guy, so I can't say. I think I met his mom. I don't know enough about him, though. Obviously, his mom made a compelling case that he didn't do anything wrong and he shouldn't have been jailed for the way that he was, but I don't know. Because I feel like she said a bunch of stuff about this, and I was like, okay, yeah, it actually seems pretty unfair. And then I feel like I looked him up and he tried to, like, pay to get somebody murdered or something. So I'm not sure. Where did you meet his mom? I think it was at, like, a Miami Libertarian conference. Or I'm just making all this up and it was just somebody associated with, like, the Free Him movement or something. I'm not sure. Are you even aware that Lionel Messi plays in Miami, by the way? Doesn't he play soccer? What the fuck would he be doing in Miami? As for Snowden, fuck Snowden.
The Steelers are going to do better in the playoffs despite this losing streak. You know, you're also saying this plan is going to work despite the evidence to the contrary. You could be a prophet, not in the Islamic sense, but in the Western Christian sense of you could be absolutely right on both of these things. You could see the crystal ball better than the rest of us. I hope you're right. I hope it all works. I don't agree. And I do hope that if it doesn't, you come out and tell us that you acknowledge that. I also hope that if you begin to take money from right-wing movements or organizations, because that you'll tell us that, because you've been straightforward with us. I've never known you to be dishonest. I believe you. I don't think you're grifting. I just think you're wrong. I think you're shamefully optimistic, and I think you have faith in our open enemies that I think is.
Okay. There's no way we can get through all the Cenk videos.